Chapter 954. Inside the resentful Buddha enchantment, Hui Fa was mercilessly slaughtering the remaining sky prides and celestial seeds. With his strength, not many sky prides of the Wailing Ghost Ridge could fight him, not even the celestial seed giants. *M. If this goes on, we'll all die. This is the Golden Mountain Temple's little sage monk. This is the nefarious monk. The Lady of the Guqin Crown, Xue Qinxin, was sent flying by the Buddhist light. She came before Chu Kuangren and said, "Brother Chu, follow me. I'll activate my celestial bloodline power and we'll break through this enchantment together." She was the Lady of the Guqin Crown and had the same celestial bloodline as the Saber King. Chu Kuangren glanced at her but did not say anything. By then, Hui Fa had already arrived before them. When he mentioned Xue Qinxin's words, he smiled and said, "You won't have that chance." He gently raised his hand, and a giant golden palm descended from the sky. Wherever it passed, the void trembled. Xue Qinxin was locked on by this power, and her face turned pale. At this distance, she could not activate her celestial bloodline power at all. Just as the Lady of the Guqin Crown was about to fall, a sword ray suddenly swept past her and sliced the giant golden palm in half. Hui Fa's expression changed as he was sent flying dozens of feet away by the sword chi. This sword chi, a celestial seed ruler. Hui Fa looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. "You're a little sage monk, yet you chose to walk on this unorthodox path instead of the Buddhist path. Do you have something wrong with your brain?" Chu Kuangren said as he slowly walked out. The crowd could not help but look hopeful when they saw him. This person could force Hui Fa to retreat with a single sword strike. He must be a celestial seed ruler. Great, we're saved. No, even if he's a celestial seed ruler, Hui Fa is already on the immortal ascension path. Can this person be his match? Those with celestial seeds did not have much hope. The others were also very anxious when they heard that. After all, cultivators on the immortal ascension path were already considered half-immortals. You really are something, but unfortunately, I'm already a half-immortal. You're no match for me. Hui Fa looked at Chu Kuangren and said confidently. He took a step forward. The powerful emperor's chi and origin energy that had been tempered by the lightning tribulation whistled out from his body, fusing with the Buddhist light. His power skyrocketed, making him seem like a mighty and dignified Buddha. Nirvana Palm. Hui Fa struck out with his palm, and a huge golden Buddha palm descended from the sky. Its power was even stronger than before. Stupid. Chu Kuangren remained calm as the origin energy within his body surged out one after another and surrounded his body with a dazzling celestial radiance. The descendant's self-sword at his waist was unsheathed with a clang. With a slash of a sword, the sword chi that was supported by many strands of source energy slashed through the air. Wherever it passed, purple lotuses bloomed, and the sharp chi was hard to block. When the people of the Dragon Chansword sect saw this, they were extremely shocked. This is the 1,000 Lotus Sword Will. Sword Crown's 1,000 Lotus Sword Essence. How did he learn it? The others were also extremely shocked. Meanwhile, the Buddha's palm and the sword chi had already collided. The two forces collided, causing the entire space to tremble violently. However, the sword chi cut open the giant golden palm with irresistible force. Hui Fa was once again blasted away. How is this possible? How do you have such powerful strength? Have you also embarked on the immortal ascension path? No, that's not right. Your body doesn't have the aura of being cleansed by the lightning tribulation. I don't think you've embarked on the immortal ascension path. But how do you have such a terrifying origin energy? Moreover, your attributes are so mixed. What's going on? Hui Fa was a little dumbfounded as he looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Chu Kuangren could not help but chuckle when he heard that. Embarking on the immortal ascension path? He had not embarked on the immortal ascension path. He had not even comprehended his own origin energy. So how could he embark on the immortal ascension path? Creating one's own origin energy, this was countless times more difficult than becoming an immortal. In the eyes of others, A cultivator who had not embarked on the immortal ascension path was far inferior to a cultivator who had already embarked on the immortal ascension path. However, that was only the opinion of others, the perception of others. Chu Kuangren's forte was to break people's perceptions. Chu Kuangren had yet to create his own origin energy, but he could still use other origin energies, such as the fire origin, frost origin, sword origin, devouring origin, physical origin, moonlight origin. With so many origin energies added together, how could he be weaker than a half-immortal? Hui Fa, do you think you can look down on the younger generation just because you've embarked on the immortal ascension path? Unfortunately, you've miscalculated an anomaly. Behind Chu Kuangren, Sword Crown said calmly. Even as an immortal, Sword Crown still could not see through Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren had clearly not embarked on the immortal ascension path, yet his combat strength was more terrifying than a half-immortal's. Moreover, he possessed so many origin energies. This was simply unimaginable. D**M*, the Buddha resentment avatar. At that moment, Hui Fa took a step forward and rays of Buddhist light radiated from his body. These Buddhist lights were dyed in a blood-red color. The blood-red Buddhist light. The Buddhist light manifested and turned into a blood-colored Buddha Dharma form. Behind Chu Kuangren, the crowned swordsman had a strange look in his eyes when he saw that. I was wondering why that Buddha statue looked so familiar. So it's the inheritance of the demonic Buddhist sect from a long time ago. TSK, interesting. As a lesser sage monk of the Golden Hill Temple, he has obtained the inheritance of the demonic Buddhist sect. The evil Buddhist sect was a celestial orthodoxy from a long time ago. However, due to its way of doing things being too treacherous, it was destroyed by the alliance of a few orthodoxies at that time, and the one who led the charge was the first abbot of the Golden Mountain Temple. Now, the little sage monk of the Golden Mountain Temple had obtained the evil Buddhist sect's inheritance. It had to be said that fate made fools of people. Hui Fa activated the celestial techniques of the evil Buddha sect and formed the Hate Buddha Dharma. The Hate Buddha statue that was absorbing the blood essence of living beings trembled slightly and flew towards Hui Fa. It actually merged with the Dharma behind him. An immortal artifact and an immortal technique combined. Hui Fa's battle prowess had actually increased by another level. You have the Thousand Lotus Sword intent, and you have the aura of an outsider. If I'm not mistaken, you must be the famous Chu Kuangren. Hui Fa said coldly. Exactly. Chu Kuangren did not try to hide anymore. The spiritual light on his face dissipated, and suddenly, a handsome face that could make even the sun and moon lose their luster appeared in front of everyone. So his name is Chu Kuangren. Xue Qinxin stared at Chu Kuangren's face in a daze. No one knew what she was thinking about. The others also started to discuss among themselves. Chu Kuangren, the outsider who killed a few sacred city enforcers and the Divine Flame sect's bachelor sage. So it's him. This person's strength is indeed worthy of his reputation. The blood-colored Buddhist light on Hui Fa's body circulated, and his originally handsome face became a little more demonic. Outsider, I admit that you're indeed very strong. However, now that I've combined my celestial techniques and immortal weapons, I'd like to see what you're going to use to fight me. Then, the Hate Buddha Dharma behind him moved. With its eyes wide open, it formed a lotus finger with its right hand and attacked Chu Kuangren. The blood-colored Buddhist light was like a flood that surged towards Chu Kuangren. In the face of such power, Chu Kuangren stood still. The origin energy around him circulated, and the two Taoist seals also appeared. With the fusion of the heavenly Tao's energy, he unleashed another sword attack. A majestic sword ray erupted, and lotuses bloomed in the void wherever it passed. Amidst the loud bang, the blood-colored Buddhist light slashed apart like a torrent and landed on the Hate Buddha Dharma, tearing it apart. The Hate Buddha Dharma then separated itself from the Dharma and flew out. What? Hui Fa's expression changed drastically. He did not even have time to retrieve the Hate Buddha Dharma before his figure turned into a blood-colored ray of light and flew out. Trying to escape? Jianguan chuckled and tried to stop him. Let him go, Chu Kuangren said. This person has the wicked Buddhist sect's inheritance and some secrets. It's a pity to kill him now. I'm still looking forward to the fun he'll bring me. Chapter 955. Casting a long line to catch a big fish. Jingguan looked at Chu Kuangren and shook his head. He then ignored him. Then, Chu Kuangren used his mind power to pick up the blood-colored Buddha statue. He sensed the resentment chi on it and smirked. It's a decent immortal weapon, but it's not a complete one. Chu Kuangren analyzed it with Xiao AI. I have heard of it before as well. In the past, the evil Buddha sect possessed a sect-guarding immortal weapon known as the 3 heads and 6 arms resentful Buddha. However, during the war against the evil Buddha sect, the resentful Buddha was broken into 3 parts. This resentful Buddha should be one of them, Jingguan said. He had lived for a long time, so he knew a lot of things. As for the remaining 2 parts, I'll let Hui Fa help us find them. Chu Kuangren kept the resentful Buddha and smiled. Then he looked at the others. Thank you for your help, Brother Chu. The Dragon Song Sword Sect cultivators gathered around and thanked him. Chu Kuangren nodded and said, It's just that this person offended me. Saving you guys was just a matter of convenience. By the way, Brother Chu, where did you learn the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent from? The leader of the sword sect, Immortal Seeds, asked. Chu Kuangren glanced at Jingguan. I was the one who gave you the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent, Jingguan said. Then, a sword appeared in his hand. It was a sword with a hilt in the shape of a green lotus. Taoist patterns intertwined on it, and it shone brightly as it emanated a powerful fluctuation. When they saw that sword, the pupils of everyone from Sword Sect constricted as they looked at the sword crown in shock. Green Lotus Celestial Sword, you are. It's good that you know. There's no need to announce it. Jingguan said. Yes. The Dragon Song Sword Sect cultivators nodded, but they were still shocked. The person in front of them was a legendary figure. Yet, this person was now with Chu Kuangren. Like a follower. Oh God, they did not know how to describe their shock. Chu Kuangren ignored the Dragon Song Sword Sect cultivators. He looked at a figure not far away and disappeared. Vulcan Howl wanted to leave without anyone noticing, but suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. It was Chu Kuangren. Why? Where do you want to go? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Chu Kuangren, what do you want? The Divine Flame Church of Light has repeatedly offended me. Tell me, what can I do about it? Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack towards the other party. Boom! The terrifying phoenix fire immediately whistled out. Vulcan Zhao's expression changed drastically as he activated the divine flame on his body. Bone-corroding, poisonous flame. The black flames collided with the phoenix flames, but they were easily devoured by the phoenix flames in the next instant. As for the fire god's howl, it was burnt to ashes by the phoenix fire without being able to fight back, leaving behind only a black fire seed. It was the bone-corroding poison flame spark. Looks like I didn't let you go for nothing back then. You've brought me another type of divine fire, which I can use as a resource for my phoenix fire. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He then wrapped his phoenix fire around the bone-corroding poisonous flame and absorbed it into his body. Chu Kuangren glanced at the wailing ghost ridge and pondered for a while. Then he narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly, Everyone, I'll give you 2 hours to leave Crying Ghost Ridge. As soon as he finished speaking, a majestic pressure instantly spread out. Everyone's expression changed. What does he mean? Does he plan to monopolize the treasures of the Wailing Ghost Ridge? That's too much. Even if he defeated Hui Fa and saved us, he's still too much. He's just an outsider after all. Everyone discussed among themselves, somewhat dissatisfied. If you don't leave, you'll die. Chu Kuangren's cold voice rang out again. Everyone looked at each other and then left helplessly. They were no match for Chu Kuangren now. If he wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. Senior, we'll take our leave first. The Dragon Song Sword Sect's people said to Jingguan. All right. Shueqin Xin walked towards Chu Kuangren and hesitated for a while before she took out a jade pendant. This is a token from the 9 Firmament Ring Manor. You've saved me twice. If you're free in the future, come to the Nine Firmament Ring Manor. I'll repay you well. The Nine Firmament Ring Manor was one of the immortal orthodoxies. It was the orthodoxy that specialized in musical Tao in the Green Orchid immortal realm. Chu Kuangren did not reject Xue Qinxin's kindness and accepted the token. I'll pay you a visit if I pass by. I'll wait for you then. A smile appeared on Xue Qinxin's face before she left. After the cultivators left, Chu Kuangren looked at Lan Yu and the others and said, I'm going to go into closed-door meditation here for a while. There are many treasures here, so you guys should train here. Jingguan, I'll leave them to your care. The latter part of the sentence was directed at Jingguan. Jingguan nodded. Don't worry, master. With me around, I won't let anything happen to them. Chu Kuangren was relieved. After all, Jingguan's strength was almost fully recovered. Even if an immortal were to come, he would still be killed. After that, Chu Kuangren opened up a cave in the Wailing Ghost Ridge and turned it into his closed-door meditation. There were two main things he had to do during this closed-door meditation. The first was to refine the bone-corroding poisonous flame and merge it with the phoenix fire. The second was to cultivate the Jade Lake immortal scripture. The first thing is to absorb the bone-corroding poisonous flame. A black flame appeared on Chu Kuangren's palm. This divine flame is a poisonous flame. Perhaps I can learn the origin of poison from it. A blood-red ray of light flashed past. Hui Fa came to a mountain peak with a terrible expression. The *M in it. I didn't expect Chu Kuangren to be this strong. Even a unity technique is no match for him. He clearly hasn't stepped onto the immortal ascension path. So how does he have such terrifying combat strength? Hui Fa was puzzled. Now that the resentful Buddha has fallen into his hands, it won't be easy to take it back. I must find the other two resentful Buddhas. Only then will I have a chance to fight him. Fortunately, according to the records, the other two resentful Buddhas have fallen into the immortal ancient battlefield. I need to find them as soon as possible and activate them. Hui Fa took a deep breath and reorganized himself. Suddenly, he heard a conversation coming from not far away. Have you heard? The Divine Flame Ming cult's first god's disciple has obtained another powerful divine flame. His combat strength is so strong that even a false immortal can't compete with him. I think he's about to step onto the immortal ascension path. It's not just him. Even the Sage City Lord's Jingguan's direct disciple, Wu Wuji, is very powerful too. He killed 3 celestial seed cultivators with a single strike of his spear. Even I'm terrified by his combat strength. Hui Fa's eyes lit up when he heard these conversations. Even if I obtain the other 2 resentful Buddhas, I might not be a match for Chu Kuangren. I need to join forces with others. Rumor has it that this person has killed the Divine Flame Ming cult's disciple and the Sage City Lord. Perhaps I can find them to cooperate with. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was feasible. Chu Kuangren, no matter how strong you are, you're just one person. You're just an outsider. How are you going to compete with us, the native celestial seed kings? Your identity as an outsider will be the reason for your defeat. Chapter 956. Inside the Wailing Ghost Ridge. Chu Kuangren had used his phoenix fire to devour the bone-corroding poisonous flame, turning it into his phoenix fire's food. Not only that, but he had also gained insight into the origin of poison through the bone-corroding poisonous flame. Now, he had a total of 9 origin energies in his body. 9 strands of origin energy. Furthermore, they were origin energy of 9 different attributes. If news of this were to spread, it would be enough to scare a large number of people to death. 9 origin energies is still not enough. Before I create my own origin energies, I need to control more origin energies. Only then can I continue to suppress those half-immortals who have embarked on the immortal ascension path, or even immortals. He could already suppress half-immortals before. That gave him a bold idea. If he could control more origin energies, would he be able to fight against immortals? Perhaps I can give it a try. But before that, I need to gain insight into the Jade Lake immortal scripture. Chu Kuangren took out the green phoenix mirror. After spending some time with Qing Feng, he had fully mastered her green phoenix physique. Although he had not mastered the Eye of the Green Phoenix, he could still easily use the Emperor's Chi that was activated by the Green Phoenix physique. With a thought, he activated the Green Phoenix physique and channeled the Emperor's Chi into the Green Phoenix mirror. In an instant, the Green Phoenix mirror glowed and countless mysterious runes appeared. It was a immortal scripture. The Jade Lake immortal scripture. Chu Kuangren immediately felt several surges of mysterious origin energies when he first saw the immortal scripture. He was shocked. The Jade Lake immortal scripture contained more than one type of origin energies. Chu Kuangren dared not delay and quickly immersed himself in it. This time, the time he spent on the immortal scripture was far beyond his imagination. A year later, somewhere in the Wailing Ghost Ridge, a powerful wave of light energy erupted. Lan Yu waved the scepter in her hand and blasted a vengeful spirit into smithereens. After a year of training, she had improved a lot. In addition to the remnant immortal pill that Chu Kuangren gave her before he went into closed-door meditation, she was now a great Taoist master. Lan Yu frowned as she looked at the vengeful spirit that had been blasted to smithereens. She seemed to be dissatisfied with her own power. It's just an ordinary vengeful spirit of a great Tao Lord, yet I had to spend so much time on it. If it was young master, you wouldn't even need to do anything. Just a single thought would be enough to kill him 1,000 times. The current me is too weak. I'm not even a celestial seed giant. How am I supposed to follow young master? Lan Yu took a deep breath and felt a little annoyed. Not far away, Jian Guan slowly walked over and said, "Not everyone is as talented as my lord." Lan Yu, you're not bad among the celestial seeds. Don't be too stubborn. He did not know how to comfort Lan Yu. Not everyone could be as talented as Chu Kuangren. It was not that some people did not work hard, but their achievements were determined by their innate conditions. Lan Yu, on the other hand, was a fairy seed that was limited by his innate conditions. He did not have an immortal physique, nor did he have an immortal bloodline. Although his level of comprehension was not weaker than any other immortal seeds, it was not as abnormal as Chu Kuangren's. The only thing that stood out was perseverance. However, it was difficult to stand out just by relying on perseverance. Is this the only thing I can do? Lan Yu said unwillingly. Her breathing was a little chaotic. Opportunity. Jianguan took a deep breath. Opportunity. If you have enough opportunities, you might be able to soar to the sky. In the immortal realm, there was no lack of such examples. An ordinary cultivator suddenly became a dazzling sky-pride cultivator with some kind of opportunity, becoming the envy of others. However, such opportunities were too rare. It's an opportunity, Lan Yu murmured. The term opportunity was too vague. Who knew if it would happen in this lifetime? She seemed to have thought of something and looked into the distance. What's wrong? Jianguan asked curiously. I don't know either. But lately, I've been having an inexplicable throbbing in my heart. It's as if there's an inexplicable calling from afar. Jianguan was stunned. An inexplicable calling? Could it be that you're too eager for power, causing your mind to be restless? Jianguan said in a roundabout way. Lan Yu rolled her eyes. Although I'm a little eager, I can tell if it's an illusion or not. She pointed in a direction in the distance. That calling is very real. It came from that direction a few days ago. Could it be that there's really an opportunity calling for you? Jianguan asked with a strange expression. Did this fortuitous encounter come so easily? Wasn't her luck a little too good? A child of fortune? At this time, Qing Feng and the little fox also walked over. They were carrying a pile of elixirs and broken immortal weapons. There were many treasures in the Crying Ghost Ridge. Some places had a large number of natural seals, making it difficult to enter. However, this was not a problem for the little fox. Her abilities allowed her to come and go as she pleased. This year, she was the one who obtained the most treasures. What are you two talking about? About opportunity. Lan Yu told him what she had sensed. Sometimes, when a cultivator has a sudden urge, they can sense things happening in the dark. Perhaps there really is a great opportunity waiting for Lan Yu. It's just that the young master hasn't come out yet. Should we wait a little longer? Qing Feng said. Opportunities are fleeting. How can we wait? Lan Yu, I'll go with you. The little fox said eagerly. Lan Yu hesitated. At this moment, the cave that Chu Kuangren was in suddenly shook violently. A terrifyingly powerful emperor's qi swept out. The emperor's qi stunned Jingwan. What a pure emperor's qi. The young master hasn't gone through the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations. But how can his emperor's qi be so terrifying? What did he do? Even Jingwan was puzzled. It's the young master. The young master has come out. Lan Yu and the other ladies were overjoyed. At this moment, a few more powerful origin energies erupted in the cave. They were even more terrifying than the emperor's qi. An origin that was filled with dense, killing qi. An origin that was filled with killing intent. An origin that was filled with dense vitality. An origin that was filled with the origin of life. An origin that was filled with the intent of nirvana sent chills down one's spine. It was the origin of death. An origin that was illusory and difficult to comprehend. It was the origin of time and space. 4 different origin energies circulated, causing the entire area to shake violently. The wailing ghost ridge's wraiths could not help but tremble. An origin that has never been seen before. Is this the new origin energy that the young master has comprehended? And this fluctuation is terrifying. Qing Feng said in shock. Then, a scene that shocked her even more appeared. Inside the cave, a peerless white-robed figure shrouded in divine radiance slowly walked out. Beside him was an ancient bronze mirror that floated in the air. The ancient mirror radiated with an infinite amount of power. The mirror's surface flashed as if it could break through the stars and mountains. Qing Feng was dumbfounded when she saw that ancient mirror. That's the Green Phoenix mirror. How's that possible? Wasn't the Green Phoenix mirror supposed to only be activated by the Green Phoenix? How could Chu Kuangren use it? Those surges of origin energy. Could it be that he has already comprehended the immortal scripture in the ancient mirror? Qing Feng gasped. That was the Jade Lake immortal scripture. The immortal scripture that was cultivated by the Queen Mother of the West. Chapter 9:57. The Jade Lake Celestial Scripture is indeed powerful. Even though it's only a fragment, it allowed me to comprehend the origin of slaughter, the origin of longevity, and the origin of death. These 3 powerful origin powers. In addition to my sudden inspiration, my comprehension of the time and space mirror, and my understanding of the origin energy of time and space, I now have a total of 13 origin energies. Coupled with the new Emperor's essence that I've evolved from cultivating the Jade Lake immortal scripture, I'm very, very powerful. Chu Kuangren murmured as he sensed the power within his body. The Queen Mother of the West was the leader of all the female immortals in the legends of the immortal world. She was in charge of punishment and death, plagues and diseases, and life and death. Chu Kuangren had mastered the Jade Pond immortal scripture, which allowed him to control the origin of life, the origin of slaughter, and the origin of death. After that, he comprehended the time and space treasure mirror on a whim, from which he gained control of the time and space origin. In addition to the poison origin, he gained control of a total of 5 new origin powers, which was enough to raise his strength to another level. This time's closed-door cultivation could be said to be fruitful. He gradually retracted his origin energy. Qing Feng walked over and looked at the cyan Luan mirror beside him. His eyes were a little sluggish. How do you control the cyan Luan mirror? If I want to use it, I can use it any time. Chu Kuangren kept it. Qing Feng was still confused. One must know that the only bargaining chip she could use to get Chu Kuangren to send her back to Mount Wudong was the Jade Lake immortal scripture in the Green Phoenix mirror. However, now that Chu Kuangren had comprehended the Jade Lake immortal scripture and mastered the Green Phoenix mirror, her only bargaining chip was gone. Don't worry, I won't go back on my words when I send you back to Mount Wudong. Chu Kuangren seemed to have noticed Qing Feng's worry and said calmly, Thank you, young master. Qing Feng heaved a sigh of relief. She was not afraid that Chu Kuangren would go back on his words. Since he was now in a dominant position and had all the chips in his hands, there was no need for him to lie to her. By the way, boss, Lanyu mentioned that there was an opportunity. The little fox suddenly said, "Oh, opportunity? Tell me about it." Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. Lanyu told him what she was feeling. Interesting. Since that's the case, let's go and take a look. In any case, he still had to temper himself in the immortal ancient battlefield. Immortal ancient battlefield. Somewhere, a large number of immortal seeds and prodigies' corpses covered the ground. A figure stood at the center of the corpses. This person wore a white monk's robe, and his face was handsome and peaceful. However, there were two strange blood-colored Buddha statues floating around him, and they were filled with strange fluctuations. This person was the little holy monk of Jinshan Temple. Hui Fa? These two resentful Buddhas have finally been activated, Hui Fa said indifferently. His figure flickered and vanished from where he was, leaving behind only corpses that he had killed and drained of their blood essence. Hui Fa came to a mountain. There were two figures standing at the peak of the mountain. Of the two, one of them had flames of various colors swirling around his body. The scorching temperature caused the void to distort. The aura was so strong that it seemed like it could turn everything in the world into ashes. The other side, it was a young man holding a dark red spear. The young man stood on the spot, his figure tall and straight. Just like the spear in his hand, he emitted an aura that could pierce through the heavens. Fellow Taoists, how have you been? Huifa, are you done with your business? The spear-wielding youth Wu Wuji asked. Yes. Hui Fa smiled faintly. Let's go then. I heard that an ancient orthodoxy's ruins have appeared in the immortal ancient battlefield. Perhaps we can explore it. Hua Shan Huang, who was burning with divine flames, said with a cold look in his eyes. Perhaps Chu Kuangren will make a move as well. Upon hearing Chu Kuangren's name, the other two also had cold looks in their eyes. A year ago, Hui Fa found the two of them and told them that he wanted to join forces to deal with Chu Kuangren. The three of them hit it off immediately and have been working together for a year. I've improved a lot in this year. With the help of various opportunities of fortune in the immortal ancient battlefield, I've passed the second and third tribulations of the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations. My strength has increased tremendously. With these two resentful Buddhas, Chu Kuangren, if we meet again, I'll definitely let you have a taste of defeat. Hui Fa thought to himself. Chu Kuangren has killed the Divine Flame sect's divine disciples one after another. This matter is absolutely irreconcilable. If we meet again, I'll burn him to ashes with these divine flames. I heard that this person can even use the phoenix flames. Perhaps I can get the secret of using the phoenix flames from him. Hua Shan Wang said with anticipation. Compared to the phoenix flames, the divine flames that he had were much weaker. If he could get the secret of using the phoenix flames, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Can these divine flames of yours defeat the phoenix flames? Wu Wuji said. The phoenix flames may be strong, but it depends on the user. Chu Kuangren isn't a cultivator who specializes in fire attributes. Besides, these divine flames may not be a match for the phoenix flames, but it might not be the case if they're combined. Hua Shan Wang said. The few divine flames swirled in his palm. It was beautiful, but it contained an extremely violent power. The other two's eyes lit up. The divine flame combination technique is interesting. Wu Wuji said with interest. Let's go. Let's go take a look at the ancient orthodoxy's ruins. The 3 figures flashed and turned into streams of light as they flew into the distance. There were countless opportunities of fortune in the celestial ancient battlefield. Recently, another great opportunity of fortune happened. An ancient orthodoxy's ruins were excavated, and many people went to explore it. An ancient orthodoxy's ruins. A large number of sky prides and immortal seeds were searching for opportunities of fortune. Some found immortal metals. Some found jade scrolls that recorded immortal techniques, and some found fragments of immortal weapons. This ancient scroll looks good. Suddenly, a soft voice was heard. A green-robed man found an ancient scroll in a dilapidated pavilion. The surrounding cultivators' eyes lit up when they saw the ancient scroll. I wonder if there's any immortal techniques recorded in that ancient scroll. He's alone. Some of the cultivators already had malicious intentions in their eyes. Whoosh! A few figures dashed towards the green-robed man. The cultivators were already used to such a scene. Killing and robbing was a common occurrence in the celestial ancient battlefield. It's a shame that they found the wrong person. One of the cultivators lamented. As soon as he finished speaking, the green-robed man waved his hand and a majestic emperor's chi surged out, sending the few cultivators flying. His powerful strength shocked everyone present. So powerful. Who is this? Who is he? Gu Lufeng from the 100 Clan Academy. Someone said softly. Hearing this name, everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Gu Lufeng, one of the 12 immortal rulers of the younger generation. That's right, it's him. The 100 Clan Academy is one of the oldest forces in the Qing Lan immortal realm. They are known to educate everyone without discrimination. The Academy gathers cultivators from all kinds of races. Gu Lufeng is the most outstanding immortal seed in the Academy. Rumor has it that he has already stepped onto the path of immortality. Everyone looked at the green-robed man, Gu Lufeng, with respect. After Gu Lufeng flipped through the ancient scroll, he smiled in satisfaction and said, "This ancient scroll records the customs and traditions of various places in the immortal realm. Not bad, not bad. To be able to obtain this scroll, this trip was not in vain." Everyone was startled. This ancient scroll was just like that. It only recorded some customs and traditions. Chapter 958. In the ruins of an ancient orthodoxy. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu and the others here. Looking at the ruins, Chu Kuangren used the spirit of omniscience, Xiao AI, to analyze it and obtained a lot of information. An ancient ruin from 129,600 years ago? Wow, that's quite a long history. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath and said, "This orthodoxy must have perished during the Immortal Ancient War. Since the Immortal Ancient War could be traced back to the previous era, it made sense for it to have such a long history. It's not easy for this orthodoxy to still have its ruins preserved after such a long time." Chu Kuangren looked at the ruins around him. Although there were broken walls everywhere and it was extremely run down. However, he could still see that the materials used in the surrounding buildings were extraordinary, and there were even quite a few immortal-grade materials. However, with the passage of time, most of them had lost their power, and the Taoist patterns on them were mostly broken. "Lan Yu, is this where you sensed it?" Chu Kuangren looked at Lan Yu and asked. The main reason they came here was because Lan Yu sensed that the mysterious summoning was coming from this place. "Yes, but I can't sense its exact location. Perhaps we'll only know when we get closer." Lan Yu said, "All right, there's no hurry. Let's explore this place for now. Let me see what treasures there are here." He used his mind power. His majestic mind power whizzed out and covered half of the ruins. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren noticed that there were a few broken seals not far away from him. Curious, he led the group over to them. The seal was located in a dilapidated pavilion. There were some scattered pages here. It seemed like this was a library that stored all kinds of books. Chu Kuangren looked around curiously and could not help but sigh when he saw the pages on the ground. What a shame. These books may have recorded some things from the immortal realm, but they've all been destroyed over the years. He could only collect some broken pages. At that moment, he saw a man in a green robe who was also collecting these pages with a look of pity on his face. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. The man looked back at him too. Their eyes met. Then, he nodded slightly as a greeting. "Interesting. I didn't expect to meet someone who cherishes books as much as I do," Gu Lufeng murmured. Chu Kuangren tidied up the book with a playful smile on his face. "King of the immortal seeds of the 100 Academies. From Xiao AI's analysis, this person's strength is above that Hui Fa." He no longer cared about them. He looked at the pages in his hands and read out some of the information on them. East Emperor Immortal Court, Celestial Court of Haotian. Beside her, Gu Lufeng also read out a name. The two of them turned around and looked at each other. "Fellow Taoist, why don't we borrow each other's books?" Gu Lufeng said. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Sure. The two of them put the pages together and obtained some information about the complete immortal world from these pages. Among them, the two words immortal court appeared the most frequently, and in front of the immortal court, the two words Eastern Emperor and Haotian were often added. The East Emperor Immortal Court and the Celestial Court of Haotian are the two legendary immortal courts of the ancient immortal world, Gu Lufeng said. It mentioned that the East Emperor Immortal Court and the Celestial Court of Haotian were the two legendary immortal courts of the ancient immortal world, Gu Lufeng said. There's too little information to judge. There's too little information to judge. Gu Lufeng shook his head and said. Then, he looked at Chu Kuangren and smiled. I'm Gu Lufeng of the 100 Academies. May I know your name? Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren. Gu Lufeng murmured before his eyes lit up. Chu Kuangren, it's you. I've heard a lot about you. He had heard a lot about Chu Kuangren's name recently. The few of them conversed for a while. Unlike the other immortal seeds, Gu Lufeng did not reject Chu Kuangren's identity as an outsider. He behaved naturally. Just as the two of them were conversing, a violent energy fluctuation suddenly came from afar, as if someone was fighting. Chu Kuangren and the others went over to have a look. They saw two people fighting, and both of them were incredibly powerful. They were two celestial seed kings. The surrounding cultivators did not dare to get close and quickly retreated. Oh, it's him. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised to see one of them, because that person was the young master of the Sword Burial Sea, the Saber King. The other person was an outsider. Moreover, his outsider's aura was very strong, not any weaker than Chu Kuangren's. It was obvious that he had entered the Azure Orchid Immortal world around the same time as him. Oh, I didn't expect that apart from Brother Chu, there's also a Celestial Seed King here. Gu Lufeng was surprised. Not only him, but the other immortal seeds were also surprised. Celestial Seed Kings were rare. An outsider Celestial Seed King was even rarer, but recently, two Celestial Seed King level Sky Prides had appeared. Chu Kuangren chuckled and looked at the outsider Celestial Seed King. It was a young man with a long sword in his hand. When he swung the long sword, a terrifying sword ray covered the sky. It's a swordsman. No wonder the Saber King has his eyes on him. This person's technique. Chu Kuangren looked at the young man with a strange look in his eyes. He felt that the young man's immortal technique was familiar. It was an immortal technique that could affect one's mind. It was the illusory Seven Emotions song. This was the first immortal technique that Chu Kuangren had mastered. It was also an immortal technique that was left behind in the firmament star by an immortal known as the Ancient Immortal. Chu Kuangren had met him before when he traveled through the River of Time. Is this person related to the Ancient Immortal? Chu Kuangren used Xiao AI to analyze the young man. His name was Gu Wuqing. His surname was Gu, a descendant of the Ancient Immortal. Boom! A loud explosion was heard. Gu Wuqing was forced back by the Saber King's attack and crashed onto the ground. He let out a sigh as his aura weakened. Although he was also a Celestial Seed King, he was no match for the Saber King. Haha, although your sword technique is strange and can affect my mind, it's a shame that you're still no match for me. The Saber King laughed before a cold, murderous intent shot out from his eyes. Outsider, you can only blame yourself for being a swordsman. Die. He raised his hand and gathered his Emperor's chi before unleashing a powerful slash. A huge and domineering saber shadow slashed down from the sky. The surrounding cultivators watched the scene. Some felt sorry that a Celestial Seed King was about to fall, while others were gloating. No one wanted to stop it. After all, Gu Wuqing was just an outsider. Just when Gu Wuqing was about to be killed by the saber shadow, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was a slender figure dressed in white. Facing the domineering saber shadow that was slashing down, his expression remained calm. That person gently raised his hand and casually struck out. The Emperor's chi circulated and a terrifying fist ray exploded like a tsunami, instantly shattering the saber shadow. The surrounding cultivators were dumbfounded by the scene. The Saber King's eyes narrowed. It's you. Chapter 9:59. It's you. The Saber King's pupils dilated when he saw who it was. This white-robed young man was none other than Chu Kuangren. The reason he attacked was because of the Ancient Immortal. He had learned one of the Ancient Immortal's immortal techniques, and they had a friendly sparring session. He could not sit back and watch as the Ancient Immortal's descendant was killed. This person is under my protection. Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves and said. The crowd was shocked. This person's strength is impressive. I can't believe he could easily block the Saber King's attack. It looks like he's also a Celestial Seed King. Indeed, he's also an outsider. Other than Gu Wuqing, there's only one other Celestial Seed King who has risen in fame recently. Could it be him? The crowd discussed as if they were waiting for a good show. The Saber King was also surprised by Chu Kuangren's appearance. I didn't expect Hui Fa to fail to kill you. Fine, I've been wanting to see your strength since a year ago. Since you're here to die, bring it on. The Saber King said coldly. The black long saber in his hand vibrated continuously as a powerful saber ray circulated within it. Its domineering aura shrouded the void. Everyone knew that the Saber King's attack would be earth-shattering. One move. Chu Kuangren raised a finger and said, You only have one chance. Make the most of it. You flatter me. The Saber King's eyes were cold. He leaped into the air and raised the long saber in his hand. A gigantic black saber shadow formed in the air. Tyrant Saber Technique, 8 Baron Dominator. The Saber King swung his saber, and the peerless saber shadow descended. The saber's power was enough to shatter a star. The entire void was shaking violently. Chu Kuangren stood still. His expression did not change in the slightest as he faced the peerless saber attack. He did not even unsheath the sword at his waist. As he focused his sword fingers, Taoist patterns and Emperor's Qi intertwined at his fingertips, forming a purple sword Qi. Then, multiple surges of origin energy were added to it. The sword slashed out as if it was going to tear the universe apart. The sword Qi and the saber shadow collided. The entire ancient orthodoxy site was shocked. Then, the sword Qi crushed the saber shadow like a hot knife through butter and headed towards the Saber King. The Saber King could not help but be shocked. How is this possible? Being locked on by the sword aura, he had nowhere to run. The threat of death, which was far stronger than the one he had felt in the resentful Buddha enchantment, enveloped him instantly. His scalp went numb, and his entire body trembled. I will die. No! He roared and activated the power of the celestial bloodline in his body. He slashed out again, but even so, he was still sent flying. He smashed into a building and was buried in the dust. Only a weak aura was left. Oh my God, what kind of strength is this? He defeated the Saber Sovereign with one move. The Saber King activated the power of his immortal bloodline, yet he was still no match for this person. This kind of strength, a half-step immortal. Everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air, their faces filled with shock. Gu Wuqing's face was also filled with shock. He looked at Chu Kuangren beside him with a look of bewilderment in his eyes. Who was this person? Why did she save him? Just as he was pondering, Chu Kuangren, who had easily defeated the Saber King, turned around and looked at him. Chu Kuangren raised his hand to gather the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and cast the spring breeze healing technique, which even contained a surge of life origin energy. With the help of the life origin energy, the effect of the spring breeze healing technique was multiplied by many times. Soon, Gu Wuqing's injuries were healed. Why did you save me? Gu Wuqing asked curiously. Because of this. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and cast the immortal technique Ethereal 7 Emotion Song. Sensing the familiar fluctuations of the immortal technique, Gu Wuqing's eyes widened. This immortal technique. What's your relationship with my Gu family? Chu Kuangren chuckled. I'm familiar with the ancient immortal. This immortal technique was taught by him. Are you a descendant of the ancient immortal? The ancient immortal. He's my Gu family's forefather. Gu Wuqing nodded and said, Indeed, the ancient immortal. How have you been? Chu Kuangren asked. Upon hearing that, A hint of sadness appeared on Gu Wuqing's face. Forefather passed away a few years ago. Chu Kuangren was stunned. How could that be? It's not just the forefather. My Gu family has been annihilated too. Now, the disciples of my Gu family are wandering in outer space. Gu Wuqing shook his head and said. He did not say anything else. It was as if he did not want to dwell on this topic any longer. Chu Kuangren did not pursue the matter either. At that moment, the orthodoxy's ruins suddenly began to shake. A white pillar of light suddenly shot up into the sky from the depths of the orthodoxy. An incredibly mysterious Taoist fluctuation suddenly spread in all directions. Upon seeing that, everyone hurriedly rushed towards the direction of the pillar of light. That's Lan Yu's expression changed. Looking at the pillar of light, her heart palpitated intensely. Something is calling out to me over there. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Let's go and have a look. Everyone rushed towards the pillar of light. Within a huge crack in the ground was a white cocoon of light. The pillar of light that shot up into the sky was caused by the appearance of this cocoon. Within the cocoon of light, there was a beautiful woman with a pair of wings on her back. Countless cultivators rushed over and could not help but feel extremely shocked. How could this be? This ruin is from the previous era. How could someone still be here? How long has this woman been alive? No, this woman doesn't have any signs of life. She's already dead. This fluctuation is immortal consciousness. Oh my God, even after being dead for so many years, there's still some immortal consciousness left. Just how powerful was this person when she was alive? A powerhouse among the immortals, one of the strongest in the entire immortal realm. Everyone looked at the woman and began to discuss among themselves. Their eyes gradually burned with passion. This woman definitely had a great opportunity of fortune on her. Just this physical body alone that still had immortal consciousness was already an extremely rare treasure. It was even more valuable than an immortal weapon. A pair of wings on her back. Could she be a winged human from the immortal realm? I think so. Who cares about her? Let's take this physical body first. Everyone immediately rushed towards the winged human from the immortal realm. However, there was an invisible force field surrounding the winged human. Some of the immortal seeds were repelled before they could even get close. This immortal still has some residual energy. How is this possible? She's already been dead for an era, yet she still has some residual energy. Isn't this a little too crazy? What kind of existence was she when she was alive? Everyone could not help but gulp. Looking at the woman in the cocoon of light, their eyes were filled with respect. However, this also made them desire this body even more. Once they grasped the power within, they would definitely soar into the sky. Everyone work together and break this force field, one of the immortal seeds said. Immediately, everyone made their move. However, no matter how much they used their power, they could not break it. At this moment, two rays of fiery light flew over. They were a young man and woman in luxurious red robes. Their bodies were filled with extremely powerful flames, and their might shook the entire place. Everyone's expression changed when they saw these two people. That's the Phoenix's son and Phoenix daughter of Wudong Mountain. They actually appeared. The Phoenix son and Phoenix daughter were the kings of Wudong Mountain's immortal seeds. However, they were not included in the list of the 12 kings of immortal seeds. This was because they had never roamed the immortal realm before and were not very famous. It was only when the immortal ancient battlefield opened that these two began to appear and display extremely terrifying combat strength. Chapter 960. The appearance of Mount Wudong's Phoenix and Phoenix Lady shocked everyone. Chu Kuangren could not help but stare at them. After all, it was his first time seeing other phoenixes other than Little Red. At the same time, he analyzed it with Xiao AI. Phoenix Lady, Feng Shangyun, and Phoenix Lady, Huang Inghong. These are divine beasts. It's my first time seeing one. Tisk TSK, their aura is indeed extraordinary. The crowd discussed among themselves. Beside Chu Kuangren, Qing Feng was surprised to see Feng Shangyun and Huang Yinghong. It's them. Oh, you know them. Yes, but not too well, Qing Feng said. She was also from Mount Wudong, so she had met the Phoenix and Phoenix Lady before. Chu Kuangren nodded and ignored her. At that moment, Feng Shangyun and Feng Shangyun were already preparing to break through the immortal force field. However, even with their celestial seed ruler's strength, they still could not get close to the light cocoon. Even a celestial seed ruler can't do anything about it. Looks like there's nothing we can do. Only an immortal can do it. It can't be. The opportunity of fortune is right in front of us, but we can only watch. Isn't this too hard to bear? The crowd said in dismay. At that moment, Lan Yu, who was beside Chu Kuangren, looked at the white light cocoon and suddenly said, "Master, I'd like to try." Chu Kuangren pondered for a while. "Are you confident? I feel like this person is summoning me. She gives me a very familiar feeling," Lan Yu said. "All right then, follow your heart." Chu Kuangren nodded. He also got the sword crown ready. If there were any changes, it would immediately break this immortal force field. Perhaps the winged lady's strength was far above the sword crown's when she was alive, but she had died for an era after all. Her remaining strength could not stop the sword crown. Lan Yu walked towards the light cocoon. A great Taoist master? Even a celestial seed ruler can't do anything. What can a mere great Taoist master do? I'm afraid he'll be repelled before he even gets close. The crowd sneered, but what happened next left them dumbfounded. Lan Yu stepped into the invisible force field and was not repelled at all. She could move freely in the force field. What's going on? How did she do it? Everyone looked on in disbelief. Even Phoenix and Phoenix could not help but narrow their eyes as they stared at Lan Yu. Following that, Lan Yu passed through the force field and arrived in front of the cocoon of light. She looked at the cocoon of light and raised her hand to press on it. At once, the light cocoon shone brightly and enveloped Lan Yu. Shao AI, analyze Lan Yu's condition. Is there any danger? Chu Kuangren said. Analyzing, Lan Yu is currently accepting the inheritance. There is no danger. Don't worry, Master, Shao AI said. That's good. Chu Kuangren heaved a sigh of relief. However, the sudden abnormality caused the crowd to burst into an uproar. Everyone stared at the cocoon of light, trying to guess what had happened. After a while, the cocoon of light slowly dissipated into countless specks of light. A figure appeared. It was Lan Yu. At this moment, her entire body was enveloped in a white radiance. Countless mysterious Tao patterns interweaved, making her look incomparably holy. What's going on? What about the immortal body? Her aura has changed greatly. Could it be that this was done by that immortal? Could this opportunity have been stolen by this outsider? Imminent. The crowd looked at Lan Yu with jealousy and hatred. Some of them had already taken out their weapons. Since they could not directly obtain the opportunity of fortune from the immortal, they could only target Lan Yu. The immortal has disappeared, yet this outsider's aura has changed so much. She must have obtained an opportunity of fortune. How can an outsider like her deserve such an opportunity of fortune? I will not allow this. That's right. Let her hand over the opportunity of fortune. As the winged human lady's body disappeared, the invisible force field also dissipated. Many people immediately stared at Lan Yu. However, some cultivators had already made their moves. A figure flew towards Lan Yu and reached out his hand to grab her. How dare you? A cold snort was heard. An extremely violent energy erupted, and the cultivator who attacked was instantly blasted into a cloud of blood mist. Chu Kuangren slowly walked to Lan Yu's side. His slender and straight body was like an impenetrable and indestructible wall. With me here, who dares touch her? Chu Kuangren's cold voice swept across the crowd. Some cultivators' expressions changed as they looked at Chu Kuangren with fear. The scene of Chu Kuangren defeating the Saber King with a single move was still fresh in their minds. Not many dared to provoke him. However, there were exceptions. Fengzi from Wudong Mountain was one of them. He could not miss out on an opportunity of fortune from the previous era. Even if it was Chu Kuangren who stood in front of him, he would still fight for it. Let me have a taste of the strength of a human sage ruler, Feng Shangyan said. He took a step forward as the flames on his body burned brightly. It then turned into a majestic wave of fire that swept out. "That's the Phoenix Flames!" The crowd exclaimed and could not help but retreat a distance away. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren, who was the target of the Phoenix Flames, stood still on the spot, allowing the Phoenix Flames to engulf him. Just as the Phoenix Flames landed on his body, a golden red flame flashed, and the Phoenix Flames on his body erupted in an even more violent and powerful manner. The Phoenix Flames collided with the Phoenix Flames. The surrounding void was almost distorted. Feng Shangyun's expression changed because his Phoenix Flames were suppressed by his opponent. He could not help but retreat a few meters. "Phoenix Flames! So you're the outsider who can use the Phoenix Flames, and your Phoenix Flames are even stronger than mine." Feng Shangyun's eyes were filled with shock. It was already unbelievable for a human to be able to use the Phoenix Flames. And it was even stronger than his Phoenix Flames. What was this? Only a phoenix with the purest bloodline can use the Phoenix Flames like that. Is this guy a human or a godly phoenix? Huang Yinghong was also in disbelief. "Phoenix Lady, let's attack together," Feng Shangyun said coldly. "A human who can control the Phoenix Flames must not be allowed to live." "All right." Huang Yinghong's expression was solemn as well. "Stop." At that moment, Qing Feng appeared and stopped both of them. He said, "This person is my friend, Feng Shangyun. Don't be rude to him." The two phoenixes were stunned when they saw Qing Feng. "You're the young clan leader?" Huang Yinghong said in shock. "Young clan leader? Why is that useless young clan leader who has been missing for years here?" Feng Shangyun said directly. Qing Feng's expression darkened when he heard that. "How dare you? Phoenix Lady, don't be rude." Huang Yinghong frowned and said. She then looked at Qing Feng and quickly walked up to him, bowing slightly. "Greetings, young clan leader." Not far away, Chu Kuangren smiled playfully. "I knew you were no ordinary person. So you're the young clan leader of Mount Wudong. I'm sorry, I've hidden something from you." Qing Feng smiled apologetically. "It's fine." Chu Kuangren did not take it to heart. "Young clan leader, your bloodline." Huang Yinghong noticed Qing Feng's strange behavior and became curious. "We'll talk about this later. Master Chu is my friend. I won't allow you to harm him," Qing Feng said to both of them. Chapter 9:61. This, Huang Yinghong was a little hesitant. Feng Shangyun said coldly, "A human wielding the Phoenix Fire is unprecedented. We can't let him live, and we can't miss the opportunity of fortune on that lady either. Are you going to ignore my order?" Qing Feng said coldly. "You're just a useless young clan leader who isn't favored by the clan. Do you think you have a right to order me around?" Feng Shangyun said coldly. "Enough, young Feng. Don't cross the line." Huang Yinghong stopped him. Beside them, Chu Kuangren was deep in thought when he saw that. It seemed like Qing Feng's situation at Wudong Mountain was not that good. "I won't give up." Feng Shangyun leaped into the air with flames burning around him, turning the void into a sea of fire. Huang Yinghong hesitated for a while, but did not attack. Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, stood in front of Lan Yu and said indifferently, "Who else wants this opportunity of fortune? Come at me together." He waved his sleeves, and a majestic emperor's chi spread. The ground and the void trembled. "Ha ha, Chu Kuangren, I've been waiting to meet you." A figure covered in flames of various colors flew towards them from afar, and the aura of a celestial seed ruler instantly swept across the area. That person was dressed in a red robe and had a majestic physique. He controlled all kinds of flames like a flame deity. "It's him, the first god's disciple of the divine Flame Ming cult, Hua Shenhuang." The crowd exclaimed. "Chu Kuangren, you've killed the ancient Sparrow City Lord and Heaven Luo City Lord of my sage capital. I'll make you pay for this." A cold voice was heard. A man in silver armor with a dark red spear in his hand walked towards them with his head held high. His majestic, ferocious chi swept across the area. Sage Capital's Spear Crown's personal disciple, Wu Wuji. Whoosh, 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 rays of light flew towards them. It was the divine Flame Ming cult's disciples and Sage Capital's enforcers. They had completely surrounded the area. The crowd could not help but be shocked. F*CK what a lineup. The Divine Flame Ming cult's disciples and First God's disciple are here. Not to mention the Spear Crown's personal disciple and the Sage Capital's enforcers. Who among the younger generation can withstand these two forces? Even if it's an immortal seed king, only death awaits it. Chu Kuangren remained calm in the face of such a lineup. He looked into the void not far away. They've already come out. Are you still want to hide it? Jinshan Temple's Huefa. Ripples appeared in the void. A white-robed monk then walked out of the void and looked at Chu Kuangren with a smile. Brother Chu, your senses are indeed extraordinary. I can smell the foul, vengeful cheese stench on your body from afar. Chu Kuangren pouted and said. Hui Fa's eyes turned cold. Chu Kuangren, now that the Divine Flame, the Sage City, and the Golden Hill Temple have surrounded you, you will definitely die today. A divine son of the Divine Flame Ming cult said coldly. There's no need to talk to him. Kill him, then capture that silver-haired woman and force her to reveal the secret of the fortuitous encounter. One of the Sacred City's law enforcers couldn't hold it in any longer and directly attacked. With a flash of his figure, he instantly disappeared from where he was like a specter. When he reappeared in front of Chu Kuangren, he immediately unleashed his pseudo-immortal power. Chu Kuangren immediately raised his hand and grabbed. In the next instant, his jade-white palm shattered the pseudo-immortal power and directly grabbed onto the Sacred City law enforcer's neck. The golden-red phoenix fire whizzed out, and the Sacred City law enforcer screamed as he was burned into a piece of charcoal. Chu Kuangren casually tossed him aside. Then, his Emperor's Qi erupted like a raging wave and rushed in all directions. Several surges of origin energy flew out and surrounded his body, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A three-way encirclement? Kill me? Do you think you're qualified to do so? Chu Kuangren said coldly. He focused his sword fingers, and suddenly, purple lotuses bloomed in the void. The petals of the lotuses danced in the air, and they were surges of razor-sharp sword qi. The sword qi intertwined and enveloped everyone at the scene. Some of the weaker cultivators were instantly torn apart by the sword qi and turned into a mist of blood. Is this the Thousand Lotus Sword intent? D*M. Hurry up and kill him. Two divine Flame Ming cult's divine sons instantly attacked. The flames that filled the sky converged and turned into two giant fireballs that smashed towards Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren raised his hand, and the phoenix fire gushed out. Fighting fire with fire, the two divine sons were instantly burned to a crisp. Some Sacred City enforcers saw how powerful Chu Kuangren was and did not want to fight him head-on. Instead, they turned to attack Lan Yu, who was behind him. You're asking for it. A cold glint flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. He took a step forward and instantly appeared beside Lan Yu. He unleashed his sword fingers, and the sword qi instantly shredded that enforcer into pieces. With a single thought, the heavens and earth shall perish. Chu Kuangren activated his immortal technique, and his Emperor's qi circulated around his body. Purplish-red light waves continuously spread out with him and Lan Yu at the center. Any cultivator that was hit by the light waves exploded on the spot. All of a sudden, not only the divine sons, but even the enforcers were not spared. Chu Kuangren's peerless combat strength left everyone speechless. His combat strength was terrifying beyond compare. He's definitely on the path to immortal ascension. Not only that, even some half-immortals are not as terrifying as him. Everyone was amazed. Hui Fa, Hua Shunwang, and Wu Wuji looked solemn. They knew that Chu Kuangren was strong, but they did not expect him to be this strong. Compared to a year ago, he's much stronger now, Hui Fa said with a serious look. His body doesn't show any signs of being cleansed by the lightning tribulation. But why is his Emperor's qi and origin energy so strong? This is too strange. Hua Shunhuang was confused. No matter what, this person must have a huge secret on him. If we kill him, we'll definitely gain a lot. Wu Wuji said with his eyes lit up. Fengzi, are you willing to join us in fighting this person? Hui Fei looked at Feng Shangyan. Feng Shangyan nodded. That's what I was thinking. Let's go. Hua Shunhuang was the first to attack. All the divine fires on his body erupted at the same time. It's the Crimson Divine Flame, Netherworld Flame, Oceanic Crystal Flame, and the Bone Spiritual Flame. He's indeed the #1 divine son of the Divine Flame sect. He's so powerful to have mastered so many divine fires. A cultivator who is knowledgeable about divine fires exclaimed. While he was speaking, the divine fires had already reached Chu Kuangren. However, they were blocked by an invisible barrier that kept them 3 meters away from Chu Kuangren. In the void, a purple lotus bloomed, the Thousand Lotus Sword intent. Oh, he's only defending and not attacking. Is he protecting the lady behind him? Hua Shunwang said. This is a good opportunity. Hui Fei's eyes lit up. Great Brahma palm. The Buddhist light around his body bloomed and turned into a golden palm. Flaming Phoenix wind-piercing strike. Feng Shangyun had also gathered his Phoenix fire and transformed it into a razor-sharp sword shadow that pierced through the air. Together with the palm attack, it collided with Chu Kuangren's sword chi barrier, causing the ground around Chu Kuangren to explode and cave in. What a fool. Wu Wuji sneered. He gripped the spear in his hand tightly and thrust it forward. A blood-colored spear ray landed on the sword chi barrier. Several surges of energy attacked at the same time and finally disintegrated the purple lotus. A powerful explosion of energy swept in all directions. At that moment, behind Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu suddenly opened her eyes and a terrifying aura spread out with her as the center. She was no weaker than a celestial seed king. She had already accepted the inheritance. Master, let me help you, Lan Yu said, and was about to step forward to help Chu Kuangren. There's no need for you to do anything. Go to the sword crown first, Chu Kuangren said. Lan Yu hesitated for a moment before she nodded. Chu Kuangren, you're still trying to show off a time like this. Do you think you're capable of fighting 4 people at once? Hua Shunhuang sneered. You're wrong. Chu Kuangren shook his head. Then, an even more terrifying emperor's chi spread out with him as the center. It's not 1 against 4, it's 4 against 1. Are you ready? Chu Kuangren waved his sleeves, and surges of origin energy seeped out of his body and surrounded him. Like a supreme immortal king, his aura shook the heavens and the earth. Chapter 962. 1 against 4? No, 4 against 1. The 4 celestial seed kings were going all out against Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood where he was as the origin energy circulated around him. His celestial aura shone brightly as his domineering aura shook the surrounding void. He stared coldly at the 4 people before him. Come! Everyone could not help but gulp as they sensed the terrifying aura emanating from Chu Kuangren's body. What a terrifying aura! Everyone, let's not hold back anymore. Let's give it our all, Hui Fei said with a serious look. He let out a long roar as the Buddhist light on his body was dyed a layer of crimson red, and a terrifying resentment chi started to circulate around him. The Golden Hill Temple's little sage monk knows such an evil technique? Could this be a technique from the demonic Buddha sect? Everyone's pupils constricted when they saw this. Fire Shenhuang, too, had a serious look on his face as the divine flames around him began to circulate. There were a total of 4 types of divine flames, and they were all famous flames on the divine flame leaderboard. As the flames intertwined, they began to fuse. An even more violent flame, origin domineering aura gushed out. Fight! Wu Wuji snorted as the blood drinker spear in his hand unleashed a terrifying, ferocious chi. With a thrust of his spear, a domineering, blood-colored spear ray that was filled with destructive chi shot towards Chu Kuangren. That's not enough. Chu Kuangren's descendant self-sword was unsheathed with a clang. He then unleashed a slash. A purple lotus bloomed in the void. The sword chi was like a torrent that shattered the blood-colored spear ray. Wu Wuji's eyes narrowed as he was blasted away by the attack. Flaming dragons, luminous sun. Fire Shenhuang raised his hand and gathered the surrounding flames. The divine flames roared as the Emperor's chi and Taoist patterns intertwined to form a ferocious fire dragon. Flaming Phoenix Wind Piercing Strike. Feng Zi and Feng Shangyan attacked as well. A large amount of phoenix flames formed into a fiery red sword shadow that pierced out. Playing with fire? You think you're my match? Chu Kuangren sneered as he raised his hand to summon the phoenix flames that were much stronger than Feng Shangyan's. As the flames collided, the two celestial seed kings were blasted away. Great Brahma Palm. Hui Fa activated the power of the Grudge Buddha on his body. Blood-colored Buddha light condensed into a blood-colored palm print that rose from the sky. The aura of grievance surged and swallowed the heaven and earth. Chu Kuangren slashed out with his sword and instantly broke the giant palm. Swoosh! Chu Kuangren's figure disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Feng Shangyan. With an indifferent expression, he raised his hand, and a large amount of phoenix fire swirled in his palm. Not good. Feng Shangyun's expression changed drastically as he circulated his power to the limit. The phoenix flames howled in an attempt to resist Chu Kuangren. However, his strength was far too weak compared to Chu Kuangren's. With just one move, he was blasted by the phoenix flames and suffered the agony of being burned. Feng Shangyan fell onto the ground. A mighty divine beast of fire was screaming in pain from being burnt by the flames. How ironic. Chu Kuangren shifted his gaze to Wu Wuji, who was beside him. He then turned the Descendant Self sword in his hand and unleashed the Thousand Lotus Sword intent, unleashing a purple sword ray. Aside from the origin of sword, the attack was also imbued with many other types of origin energy, making it extremely powerful. Blood Drinker Spear, Army Breaker. Wu Wuji's pupils constricted slightly. Then, he activated his immortal art. The origin energy was infused into the long spear, and when it was unleashed, the blood-colored spear ray pierced through the air and collided violently with the sword ray. However, due to the difference in their strengths, the sword chi was unstoppable. Wu Wuji let out a scream and was sent flying. If not for the armor on his body, that attack would have killed him on the spot. How is this possible? Seeing that Chu Kuangren had defeated two celestial seed kings in a row, Shenhuang's expression changed drastically. He felt like his head was about to explode. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was much more terrifying than he had imagined. Is this all you've got? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He looked at Shenhuang with a cold, murderous intent in his eyes. He had not forgotten how the divine flaming cult almost killed Lan Yu. D*M*, Chu Kuangren. I don't believe you're invincible. Shenhuang suppressed the fear in his heart. He roared and channeled his divine flames to the limit. Four types of divine flames circled around his body and then merged with each other. The divine flame fusion technique. The four types of divine flames on Shenhuang's body merged into a colorful fireball. The black netherworld flame, the white bone spirit flame, the red crimson divine flame, and the blue heavenly crystal flame shone brilliantly. Its might was even more terrifying. Just by looking at it from afar, everyone could feel their scalps tingling. Chu Kuangren looked at it with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. He said, 4 types of divine flames. You're a pretty good resource. If his phoenix fire could devour the 4 types of divine flames, his phoenix fire's power would rise to another level and become even more powerful. If you want to devour me, you'll have to take this move of mine first. Shenhuang saw through Chu Kuangren's thoughts and was furious. Then, the aura on his body skyrocketed and the flame origin energy merged into his divine flame. Divine flame, exploding heaven strike. The colorful fireball carried a terrifying power that could burn everything in its path towards Chu Kuangren. Its power almost caused the void to distort. What's so hard about taking this move of yours? Chu Kuangren stood still and let the fireball hit him. Accompanied by a loud explosion, the terrifying, colorful flames swept across like a raging wave and spread in all directions, turning the surroundings into a sea of fire. Wherever it passed, everything was turned into ashes and the ground was melted. Everyone stared at the sea of fire without blinking. Did it work? Did he kill Chu Kuangren with this move? He didn't even try to block such a terrifying power. Instead, he took it head-on. I'm afraid he'll be severely injured even if he doesn't die. This person is too arrogant. Everyone stared at the sea of fire and discussed among themselves. Right when everyone was surprised and bewildered, a strand of powerful Emperor energy rose from the ground and swept out. The flames in the surroundings were swept away by the Emperor energy, and then a peerless figure that looked down upon the world, and the world was revealed. Chu Kuangren's white robe was spotless. Purple lotuses bloomed around him, and as his sword chi circulated, the surrounding divine flames could not hurt him at all. Now it's my turn. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and pointed at Hua Shenhuang. He said proudly, I can kill you with one sword. As soon as he said that, the purple lotuses around him dispersed and turned into pure sword chi that was injected into the descendant self-sword in Chu Kuangren's hand. The overbearing sword pressure tore the surrounding air apart, and even the spectators who were watching from afar could feel the pain. Chu Kuangren waved his arm, and the purple sword chi wrapped in blooming purple lotuses slashed towards Hua Shenhuang with an unstoppable force. Hua Shenhuang tried his best to block it, but his flames were easily torn apart the moment they came into contact with the sword chi. In the next instant, the sword chi landed on his body. Divine Flame Clone. At that crucial moment, Shenhuang used his clone technique and split his body into two. The Divine Flame Clone stayed behind to withstand the impact of the sword chi, while his real body quickly retreated, trying to escape from the sword chi's range. However, when the sword chi landed on the Divine Flame Clone, it suddenly exploded. Pieces of purple petals swept in all directions, and each petal was wrapped in a sharp and dense sword chi. The Divine Flame Clone was the first to be torn apart, and Hua Shenhuang's real body was not spared either. He was enveloped by the spreading sword chi, and before he could react, thousands of sword chi pierced through his body, turning him into a mist of blood. I've said it before, I'll kill you with one sword, and that's it. Chapter 963. The purple sword light exploded, and the flower petals and sword chi swept out in all directions. Fire Shenhuang died on the spot. Hui Fei, who was slightly further away, and Wu Wuji weren't any better off. They were affected by the sword chi and were forced to retreat in a sorry state. After Hua Shenhuang's death, only his interspatial ring and 4 different colored divine fire seeds were left in the void. Chu Kuangren smirked when he saw that. He walked up to them, raised his hand, and used his phoenix flames to envelop the 4 fire seeds before absorbing them into his body. At this moment, at the side, a powerful energy fluctuation erupted. Feng Shangyun, who was almost burnt to a crisp by the phoenix flames, suddenly unleashed his phoenix flames and engulfed the phoenix flames that belonged to Chu Kuangren. The injuries on his body were also recovering at an extremely fast speed. Oh, this is Nirvana. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. The reason why the Phoenix Fire was ranked 3rd on the Divine Fire list, apart from its ability to devour all flames, was its ability to undergo Nirvana. Moreover, after the Phoenix underwent Nirvana, its strength would be greatly enhanced. Chu Kuangren had experienced Nirvana once before. Chu Kuangren, I bet you didn't expect this, did you? I'm a phoenix, and I can borrow the power of your phoenix flames to be reborn. I'm even stronger now. Feng Shangyun looked at Chu Kuangren and laughed out loud. The phoenix flames on his body circulated, and the fiery light shone on his handsome face. He stared at Chu Kuangren with a burning murderous intent in his eyes. Kill! He turned into a ray of fiery light and flew towards Chu Kuangren. Every single move he made had unleashed a combat strength that surpassed that of an ordinary false immortal. Hui Fei and Wu Wuji's eyes lit up. 3 against 1. we still have a chance. We might not necessarily lose. The two of them looked at each other and revealed a determined expression. Obviously, they were going to use their trump card. Wu Wuji took out a golden red pill and consumed it. The monarch chi in his body instantly rose by a large margin, and his comprehension of the ferocious chi source also improved significantly. The other side, Hui Fa put his palms together. The blood-colored Buddha light that was mixed with resentment intertwined with Tao patterns. A ferocious-looking Buddha of resentment appeared out of thin air. It was the evil Buddha sect's resentment Buddha avatar. And that was not all. Two blood-colored flowing lights flew out from Hui Fa's body. They were two Buddha statues of the resentful Buddha. The Buddha statue and the Dharma form merged into one. The Dharma form, which originally had one head and two arms, suddenly became two heads and four arms, which was even more terrifying. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Very good. You've really collected the remaining two resentful Buddha statues for me. Kill. Hui Fa said coldly with an evil look on his face. The image of a little holy monk was long gone. The three rulers of the celestial seeds charged towards Chu Kuangren in an even more powerful manner. However, Chu Kuangren swung his long sword with ease. One man and one sword made the three kings of the immortal seeds feel like they didn't know where to start. They couldn't see any hope of victory. Were they surrounding Chu Kuangren to kill him? No. They felt that Chu Kuangren was trying to kill them. It's time to end this boring battle, Chu Kuangren said coldly, and all 13 surges of origin energy erupted from his body. This scene completely shocked everyone present. Some of them had never seen so much origin energy in their entire lives, let alone all of it gathered in one person's body. Monster, what exactly is his Tao? Why does he have so much origin energy? This guy is too scary. Everyone was dumbfounded. They had never seen anything like this before. A cultivator only had one Tao. Therefore, he only had one true origin energy. There were also some cultivators who could cultivate other origins to increase their combat strength. However, a person with 13 origin energies, no matter how they thought about it, it was unbelievable. With 13 origin energies surrounding his body, Chu Kuangren's every move had an earth-shattering power. The three rulers of the celestial seeds felt an unprecedented pressure, even though they were half immortals. To have such terrifying combat strength without going through the 3 disasters and 9 tribulations, Master is truly an anomaly in this world. Jian Guan murmured in the crowd. Then, he looked into the distance. This battle has caused quite a commotion. I guess those old guys are starting to get restless. His eyes lit up. If that was the case, he could not just sit around. D*M in it. I've underestimated him. I can't believe this person's combat strength is so powerful. Hui Fa and the other two could not help but be shocked. Even though they had used all their trump cards, they still felt helpless against Chu Kuangren, who had unleashed all 13 origin energies. Even with 4 of you fighting against one, you're still no match for him, Chu Kuangren said calmly. He raised the long sword in his hand, and countless purple lotuses bloomed in the void. Dense sword chi enveloped the entire area. The 3 rulers of the celestial seeds had nowhere to run. Die! Chu Kuangren yelled. Countless sword chi instantly shuttled back and forth in the void. Although the vengeful Buddha avatar was a fusion of 2 vengeful Buddha statues, it was still shattered by the countless sword chi attacks. On the other side, Wu Wuji waved his spear to block the sword chi. However, Chu Kuangren's 1,000 lotus sword intent was endless. No matter how hard he tried to block, the sword chi never stopped. In just 2 breaths' time, Wu Wuji's body was already covered with dozens of wounds. Although Feng Shangyun's Nirvana rebirth had greatly increased his strength. Even so, he was still no match for Chu Kuangren's powerful sword techniques. Stop! Just when the 3 rulers of the celestial seeds were in danger, a furious voice came from afar. A majestic immortal's domineering aura enveloped the entire area. The immortal had made his move. Everyone gasped as they stared at Chu Kuangren. From their point of view, Chu Kuangren should have a limit no matter how arrogant he was when an immortal had made his move. It's our sage city's grand elder, and our Golden Hill Temple's sage monk. Wu Wuji and Hui Fei were delighted. However, they soon realized that even after the immortal had made his move, Chu Kuangren was still relentless and did not stop his attacks. On the other hand, their momentary distraction had caused them to be severely injured. Everyone was shocked. Chu Kuangren dared to ignore the immortals. Far away, 3 rays of light rushed out from the depths of the celestial ancient battlefield and headed towards the ancient orthodoxy ruins. They wanted to stop or even kill Chu Kuangren. All 3 rays of light were immortals. They were immortals from the Divine Flame Sect, Golden Hill Temple, and Sage City. They were enraged. Every celestial seed magnate was a sky pride that was carefully nurtured by their respective orthodoxies, let alone a ruler of the celestial seeds. And Chu Kuangren was about to kill their ruler of the celestial seeds. He was going to ruin their future as immortals. How could they tolerate that? We must kill this outsider. If I don't kill this person, I won't be able to quell the hatred in my heart. At that moment, a green-robed figure suddenly appeared in front of them. It was an old man with white hair on both sides of his temples. He looked ordinary. However, the 3 immortals stopped in their tracks at the same time. They looked at the green-robed old man with their eyes narrowed in shock. "You're Jingguan. Why are you here?" Jingguan was one of the 7 crowns of the Green Orchid Immortal Realm. He was also the top sword immortal of this immortal realm in the past. "It doesn't matter why I'm here. What's important is that you can't continue on this path," Jingguan said. "You want to protect Chu Kuangren?" The Divine Flame Sect's immortal said coldly. "Yes." Chapter 964. Yes. That one word was accompanied by a towering sword intent that swept across the sky. Green lotuses blossomed with sword crown at the center. In the blink of an eye, a 1,000-kilometer radius had turned into a sea of flowers. The 3 immortals' expressions changed when they saw that. Is this the power of Sword Crown, one of the 7 crowns? That's impossible. I heard that Sword Crown was already crippled by Sword Crown. How can he still have such powerful strength? What the hell is going on? The 3 immortals looked at each other in confusion. Among them, the Divine Flame Church's immortal had a strange look in his eyes. Then, a flame burned in his palm. Let me test him first. Immortal Core surged as he struck out with his palm. An extremely domineering flaming palm was unleashed. Sword Crown stood still with a calm expression. Before the immortal sword was unleashed, Sword Chi automatically gathered at the tip of his finger. With a wave of his hand, a huge Sword Chi stirred the sea of flowers and slashed out. The Sword Chi broke through the flaming palm and headed towards the immortal. It was just one move, but the Divine Flame Church's immortal could not help but narrow his eyes. His face was filled with unprecedented fear. He roared and channeled all his strength to block that move. But it was useless. With a loud ripping sound, the Divine Flame Church's immortal's arm was forcefully cut off. His immortal blood splattered all over the ground. The ground was burned into a sea of fire by the boiling blood. He cut off my arm with one move. His strength has really recovered. Sword Crown is a 9th grade common immortal. We're only 3 lower grades. We're no match for him. Retreat. The Sage City's immortal said coldly. In the ancient Taoist orthodoxy ruins, Wu Wuji, Hui Fei, and the others could not help but feel shocked when they sensed the immortals retreating. They looked at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. The immortals retreated? Chu Kuangren has a powerful background. Isn't he an outsider? How can he be so powerful that even the immortals retreated? My God, this person's background is not ordinary. The crowd discussed among themselves. Hui Fei and Wu Wuji, on the other hand, fell into despair. Even the immortals retreated. Who else could save them? The Sword Chi shuttled back and forth in the void. The Grudge Buddha Dharma form shattered into pieces, and the 2 Grudge Buddhas fell to the ground. Hui Fa was minced into a bloody mist by the sword Qi. Wu Wuji wouldn't be able to escape either. Chu Kuangren, you can't kill me. I'm from the Wudong Mountain, and the Wudong Mountain is a clan of divine beasts. You can't even begin to imagine how powerful we are. If you dare to kill me, you'll be making an enemy out of our Wudong Mountain. Feng, Shangyun quickly said. I can kill the divine Fire Ming cult's immortal seed, the holy city's immortal seed, and the Golden Mountain Temple's immortal seed. Do you think that I will care about Wutong Mountain? Chu Kuangren's expression was cold. The purple lotus sword flashed through the void, killing Feng Shangyun on the spot. Now, can your phoenix fire still save you? Chu Kuangren sneered. The crowd looked at Chu Kuangren in horror. The 4 major celestial seed kings had joined forces, but they were all defeated by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was beyond their imagination. According to the immortal ascension path of 3 disasters and 9 tribulations, Chu Kuangren should be a 7th tribulation or even an 8th tribulation cultivator. But why aren't there any signs of lightning tribulation on his body? I can't figure it out. The spectators were discussing. After this battle, Chu Kuangren's name would spread throughout the entire Green Orchid Immortal Realm. He had single-handedly killed 4 celestial kings. No other celestial seed had ever achieved such a feat, not to mention a foreign celestial seed. Chu Kuangren retracted the origin energy within his body and kept the 2 grudge Buddhas and the other items away. Then, he returned to Lan Yu and the others. However, Huang Yinghong, who was beside Qing Feng, looked at him cautiously. After all, he had just killed a phoenix child. Chu Kuangren did not mind. If Huang Yinghong dared to attack him, he would not mind killing him as well. After all, it was not a difficult thing to do. Not long after, Jingguan had returned too. Is it done? Chu Kuangren asked casually. It's done. Jingguan nodded slightly. Done? Forget it. You've just recovered from your injuries. It's not easy for you to defeat them. I don't expect you to bring back a few immortal corpses anyway. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Jingguan's mouth twitched when he heard that. Immortal corpses? Were immortals that easy to kill? I'll try next time, Jingguan said. Chu Kuangren said no more. Immortals? Compared to letting Jingguan kill one, he would rather kill one himself. However, Chu Kuangren knew very well that it was not realistic for him to kill an immortal with his current strength. Perhaps it would be possible if he gained more insights into the origin energy. There's nothing left to search in this ancient orthodoxy's ruins. Let's leave, Chu Kuangren said. Master. At that moment, Qing Feng hesitantly said to Chu Kuangren, I'd like to return to Wudong Mountain with Yinghong first. Chu Kuangren was not surprised to hear that. Sure. Then, we'll meet again if fate allows it. Qing Feng looked at Chu Kuangren with a complicated gaze. Although they had not known each other for a long time and nothing unforgettable had happened between them, this person seemed to be unforgettable to her. Perhaps this was his natural charisma. Some people were born with the ability to impress others. All right. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly and bade farewell to Qing Feng. Since he had already mastered the Green Phoenix physique and learned the Jade Lake immortal scripture, she was of no use to him. Wutong Mountain. Maybe I can go there if I have a chance. Lil Hong has also come to the Green Orchid immortal world, but there's no news of her. Maybe there'll be some clues there. Besides Xu Hong, there was also Yin Honghua. He had to find some time to find out more about these 2 women. When he left, Chu Kuangren glanced at Gu Wuqing and Gu Lufang. Gu Wuqing cupped his fists and said, Brother, I'll never forget your kindness. I'll definitely repay you someday. Gu Wuqing was a little embarrassed to say that. Gu Wuqing had saved his life, but he had no way to repay him now. Moreover, judging from Gu Wuqing's talent and strength, she would only surpass him in the future. When that time came, Gu Wuqing would not need him anymore. I'm old friends with the ancient immortal, so there's no need for me to repay him. Chu Kuangren hesitated for a moment before he said, I'm very sorry about the ancient immortal's death. If you need any help, you can come to me. I'll do my best. Jingguan looked at Chu Kuangren in surprise. From what he knew, Chu Kuangren was not someone who gave promises easily. It seemed that this ancient immortal was of great significance to him. In fact, the ancient immortal was not of great significance to Chu Kuangren, but to Firmament Star. It was because of him that came to Firmament Star and spread the Tao of cultivation that the Firmament Star's cultivation civilization developed rapidly in the early stages. Based on that alone, Chu Kuangren did not mind making a promise. If possible, he would also investigate the ancient immortal's death. Gu Wuqing was a little touched when he heard that. After the Gu family was in trouble, those who were on good terms with the Gu family avoided them. No one was willing to help. However, he did not expect to meet Chu Kuangren in this unfamiliar green orchid immortal world. Chu Kuangren was 100 times better than those who were on good terms with the Gu family. Chapter 965. Brother Chu, if you're free in the future, please come to the 100 Academy and I'll welcome you with open arms. Gu Lufang smiled at Chu Kuangren. As long as he was not stupid, he knew he had to befriend such a peerless immortal seed. Even if he did not befriend him, he would try his best not to offend him. The 100 Academy? I'll remember that. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Rumor had it that the 100 Academy had a long history of inheritance. The Academy had all kinds of cultivation scriptures and ancient secrets. If he had the time, he would visit it. After all, he wanted to create his own origin and walk a path that no one had ever walked before. Not only did this path require determination, but it also required a deep knowledge base. The 100 Academy was a good place to learn. After bidding farewell to the two, Chu Kuangren left. Gu Wuqing, who stayed behind, looked at Gu Lufang and said, "Brother, are you from the 100 Academy?" "Yes, I am Gu Lufang from the 100 Academy." Gu Wuqing's eyes lit up. Rumor has it that the 100 Academy believes in education without discrimination. I wonder if they accept outsiders? Of course, there are quite a few outsiders in the Academy. Gu Lufang smiled. Then how do I join the Academy? Gu Wuqing wanted to avenge the Gu family. First, he had to survive in the Green Orchid Immortal Realm. Outsiders were not welcome here, so he had to find a strong force to rely on. The 100 Academy was a good choice. "Brother, please follow me back. I'll introduce you." "Thank you." Chu Kuangren and the others left the ancient orthodoxy ruins. Then, they came to an empty mountain range, and Chu Kuangren asked Lan Yu about the winged human lady's inheritance. That lady is the strongest of the winged human tribe in the immortal realm. She died in the previous era, but she used some technique to preserve her immortal physique and immortal consciousness. She stayed here to wait for the inheritance. This inheritance belongs to the winged human tribe, Lan Yu explained slowly. Chu Kuangren was also using the spirit of omniscience to analyze her condition. Lan Yu originally possessed the holy radiant physique, but now it had evolved into a physique called the Radiant Combat Immortal Physique. It was created for Lan Yu by the supreme expert of the winged human tribe, using his own immortal physique and immortal consciousness. It was the most powerful immortal physique of the winged human tribe. It's not disappearing, but transforming. In other words, a Taoist body can become an immortal body. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. If the holy radiant body could do it, then what about the other physiques? Could his Tao body, such as the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, chaotic body, and heavenly yellow, celestial sovereign body evolve into an immortal body? Chu Kuangren had a flash of inspiration. Lan Yu's peerless immortal body was formed by the winged human paragon's body and immortal consciousness. He did not have that kind of opportunity. However, he had the Book of Constitution. He could analyze Lan Yu's radiant combat immortal physique and study the process of her Tao physique evolving into an immortal physique. From there, he could upgrade his other physiques to immortal physiques. Upgrading my physiques. Perhaps this will be the next breakthrough for me to study the Book of Constitution. Chu Kuangren smirked and thought to himself. This time, Lan Yu had obtained the inheritance of the winged human paragon and obtained a great opportunity. Through this, Chu Kuangren had also gained some inspiration. In his opinion, this inspiration was no less than Lan Yu's. Lan Yu, you've just obtained this immortal physique. so you need some time to get used to it. I also need to refine the divine flame tinder of the flaming divine brilliance, so I'll go into closed-door meditation for a few days. Jingguan, please protect us. Chu Kuangren said to Jingguan. Jingguan nodded. Of course. While Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were in closed-door meditation for a few days. However, the outside world was not peaceful either. The battle at the ancient orthodoxy's ruins had spread Chu Kuangren's name throughout the immortal ancient battlefield. Everyone now knew about him. He was in the limelight for a period of time. The other celestial seed kings were completely overshadowed by him. A month after that battle, another great disturbance occurred in the immortal ancient battlefield. This disturbance originated from the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. This time, those who came to the immortal ancient battlefield weren't just immortal seeds. Even immortals came to explore. They were active in the core region of the immortal ancient battlefield, fighting against the most powerful, vengeful spirits. That was a place where immortal seeds found it hard to approach. On this very day, shocking news spread out from the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. The legendary Immortal Ascension Pond had appeared. For a time, the whole immortal ancient battlefield was shaken. The Immortal Ascension Pool. Legend has it that the water of the pool can cleanse one's body and purify one's immortal body. If someone who hasn't become an immortal enters the pool, it will increase their chances of becoming an immortal. For a celestial seed, this celestial ascension pool cannot be missed. That's right. Now that the vengeful spirits in the core region of the immortal ancient battlefield have been more or less cleared out by the immortals, I must go take a look at this immortal ascension pool. Even if it's just for a cup of bath water, it's fine. Countless immortal seeds were eager to give a try. The immortal ascension pond was extremely tempting to them. Somewhere in the immortal ancient battlefield, inside a cave, Chu Kuangren sat cross-legged with 3 blood-red, resentful Buddhas placed in front of him. Traces of resentment surrounded his body. After a while, Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes. Close. He channeled his thoughts and manipulated the 3 resentful Buddhas to collide with each other. Accompanied by a flash of blood-red Buddhist light, the 3 blood-red Buddha statues merged and turned into a Buddha statue with 3 heads and 6 arms. This Buddha statue was blood-red in color and was the size of 2 palms. It had 3 heads and 6 arms, and each head had a different expression. One was glaring at him with a ferocious expression. One was lowering its head and bemoaning the state of the universe. One had its eyes wide open and its face filled with fear. They were respectively anger, pity, and fear. The resentful Buddha hovered in midair and emitted a blood-red Buddhist light. Its terrifying energy waves were like a tidal wave that spread out wave after wave. What an impressive, 3-headed, 6-armed, resentful Buddha statue. It's quite a powerful one. Chu Kuangren looked at the resentful Buddha before him with a strange expression. He opened his palm, and a surge of blood-red energy circulated within it. That energy resonated with the resentful Buddha statue and formed a resonance. Through this resentful Buddha statue, I've gained control of another resentful Qi origin. That's the 14th origin. Chu Kuangren smiled. His closed-door meditation did not last long. However, he had gained quite a lot. He had completely devoured the 4 divine flames kindling seeds, but he did not gain any new origin energy from them. Instead, his Phoenix Flame's power had increased significantly. What was worth mentioning was this resentful Buddha statue. Chu Kuangren had gained insights from this resentful Buddha statue. Apart from that, after he refined it, the 3 resentful Buddhas merged into one, forming a complete 3-headed, 6-armed resentful Buddha statue, which was the sinister Buddha sect's most valuable treasure. With this immortal weapon, I've gained another trump card. Let's do a lucky draw. Chu Kuangren murmured and opened the fantasy roulette. Congratulations, host. You've obtained the deity tier prize, the transcendent lotus seed. His eyes lit up. He opened the inventory and looked at the 10,000 transcendent lotus seeds introduction. The transcendent lotus was a celestial plant. Moreover, it was no ordinary celestial plant. It was a godly lotus that could evolve immortal techniques based on its origin. With one petal, it was considered a first-grade immortal technique. With two petals, it was considered a second-grade immortal technique. This godly lotus could reach the 12th grade. In theory, it could evolve up to 12 immortal techniques. However, this depended on the individual's ability. If the cultivator who nourished the godly lotus was not strong enough, the 12th grade immortal technique might not even evolve to 2 or 3 immortal techniques. It was a celestial plant whose effects depended on the cultivator's level. Chapter 966. Extract. Chu Kuangren extracted the godly lotus seed, and in an instant, a shiny golden lotus seed that was densely covered with mysterious Taoist patterns appeared within his body. An item that can help one manifest immortal techniques. Not bad. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. His own divine enlightenment wine had not been refined yet. He originally thought that the matter of evolving the immortal method would take a while, but now that he had this 10,000 law divine lotus seed, this matter could already be put on the agenda. He created his own celestial art and grasped the seal of law verification. This was the thought that Chu Kuangren had even before he entered the immortal realm. This was one of his two main directions of cultivation, as well as comprehending as much of the origin as possible before he created his own origin. The power of origin, the seal of proof, these were all things that could help him increase his strength. The transcendent lotus seed has been planted in my body. All that's left is to collect the water and wood essences to water it, Chu Kuangren murmured. If the 10,000 law divine lotus wanted to grow, it was far from enough to just rely on Emperor Qi to nourish it. It also needed a large amount of water and wood essence, just like how flowers and plants needed water. In essence, there was not much difference between immortal plants and flowers. Lan, you should have gotten used to it by now, so it's about time for me to come out of my closed-door meditation. I'll analyze her radiant battle immortal physique and find a way to upgrade her Taoist physique, Chu Kuangren thought to himself. He went out of the cave. Outside the cave, the sky was still overcast like before. This immortal ancient battlefield was surrounded by resentment. So what kind of good weather could there be? He shook his head. I'll stay here for a while longer. If there's nothing worth fighting for, I'll leave. Outside the cave, Lan Yu had already come out of seclusion before him. She stood under the tree, tall and slender. She still wore the silver-white armor, and her silver-white hair casually draped over her shoulders. Her facial features were exquisite, and her blue eyes were like the ocean, clean and lively. His temperament was valiant and cold. She was like an awe-inspiring and inviolable Valkyrie. Young master, you're out of seclusion. When Lan Yu noticed Chu Kuangren, she turned around and smiled. Ripples appeared in her sky-blue eyes, filled with boundless tenderness. How's your immortal war physique? Chu Kuangren asked. I've gotten more or less used to it, and my cultivation base has broken through to the Tao Lord level. I've also gained control over the essence of light. Light is my Tao. Battle is my duty. The light battle source is the most suitable source for me. Lan Yu smiled faintly. Young master, congratulations on coming out of seclusion. Looking at your appearance, you seem to have gained something again. Jianguan walked over and smiled. It's all right. Chu Kuangren asked, has anything happened recently? Yes. Before Jingguan could say anything, Little Fox jumped up and said, Boss, a few days ago, an immortal ascension pond appeared in the immortal ancient battlefield. Many people went there. Let's go join in the fun. Oh, the immortal ascension pool? Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. Right, this is a treasured land that has obtained the fortune of heaven and earth. It is extremely beneficial for immortal seeds. Jianguan said, since that's the case, let's go take a look. Chu Kuangren did not reject either. Soon, they set off for the Celestial Ascension Pool. Far outside the Celestial Ascension Pool, many celestial seeds were still fighting for a place to enter the Celestial Ascension Pool. They didn't know what kind of existence they would meet. On a mountain peak in the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. In the immortal ancient battlefield that was filled with resentment chi, this mountain peak was particularly special. This was because the place was filled with an immortal light that prevented the surrounding resentment chi from approaching. This made this place seem out of place in the immortal ancient battlefield. On the mountain peak, there was a lake that covered a radius of 10 kilometers. The lake was filled with mist and immortal light. It was the celestial ascension pool that countless celestial seeds yearned for. The water in the celestial ascension pool was condensed from extremely pure spiritual chi. A single drop of water was equivalent to millions of spiritual marrows. The value of this 10 kilometers of water was inestimable. However, the more valuable thing was the immortal light that lingered in the lake. This immortal light intertwined with the pool water and formed a mysterious power. It was this immortal light that allowed the pool water to cleanse one's body and cleanse one's marrows. This was enough to allow the celestial seeds to walk the path of immortality more smoothly. Outside the celestial ascension pool, countless restrictions were set up by the immortals who entered the depths of the immortal ancient battlefield. The purpose was to prevent others from peeking into the celestial ascension pool. The immortals had already discussed this. Only immortal seeds from immortal orthodoxies had the right to enter the celestial ascension pool for baptism. However, to prevent others from gossiping, the immortals decided to give 10 spots to immortal seeds from other orthodoxies. As for who those 10 would be, that would depend on their strength. Outside the celestial ascension pool, a large number of immortal seeds were fighting. They were all fighting over 10 tokens. These represented the number of spots to enter the celestial ascension pool. The medallion changed hands a few times in the hands of the celestial seeds. One celestial seed managed to snatch the medallion, but in the next instant, it was snatched by the others. Ah, what a rare sight! In the sky, an immortal seed looked at the chaotic scene below and chuckled. This was a seed from the holy city. He looked at the immortal seeds fighting for tokens with disdain. The other immortal seeds from the other orthodoxies had similar expressions. Compared to the immortal seeds fighting for tokens, they were much better off. They'd already been selected from the start. This was the best example of having a big tree to rely on for shade. Who do you think will take the 10 spots? I don't know. It doesn't matter who gets them. Ignore them. Let's draw lots to decide who will enter the celestial ascension pool first. A man in a golden robe said faintly. This man was tall and had a dignified expression. He stood there like a king, making others want to bow down to him. This was one of the 12 immortal seed kings, the crown prince of the Yuan dynasty. Yuanwu. The drawing lots he spoke of was the rule for entering the celestial ascension pool. The celestial ascension pool had enormous energy, enough to support the baptism of all the immortal seeds here. But during the baptism, the immortal seeds had to be completely focused. To prevent anyone from disturbing them or causing any accidents, the immortals decided to draw lots to decide the order. One orthodoxy at a time would enter the celestial ascension pool. Then let's begin. A beautiful woman in a white dress said. This woman was also one of the 12 immortal seed kings. There were 14 orbs of light before everyone, representing the 14 orthodoxies that came to the celestial battlefield. From 1 to 14, arrange them according to the numbers. The one who draws one can enter first, Yuanwu said. Then he began to draw lots. Look, all of a sudden, the immortal seeds around them exclaimed. The immortal seeds that were fighting for the spots to enter the celestial ascension pool suddenly stopped and looked into the distance in fear. They could feel an aura that was so strong that it was difficult for them to reach was approaching. At the end of their line of sight, a peerless white-robed figure was slowly walking towards them. Behind him were 3 people, 2 women, and an old man with white hair. It was Chu Kuangren and the others. Chu Kuangren did not restrain his aura. Instead, he unleashed his domineering aura to shock all the immortal seeds present. He looked at the celestial ascension pool and smiled. This celestial ascension pool is really tempting to attract so many people. It's him, Chu Kuangren. Is he the monster that killed the immortal seed kings? So he's here too. The crowd discussed among themselves as they looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Meanwhile, the immortal seeds in the sky were also looking at Chu Kuangren curiously. One of the immortal seeds said coldly, "Chu Kuangren, even you have to follow the rules if you want to enter the celestial ascension pool. You must compete with others for the spots to enter." Chu Kuangren looked at the immortal seeds around him and saw the tokens in their hands. He immediately understood what was going on. He sneered and looked at the void above the immortal seeds. Compete? Do I need to compete? Chapter 9:67. Fight? Do I need to fight? Chu Kuangren stood where he was and looked into the void. He could sense that there were more than 10 extremely powerful auras circulating there. They were auras that far surpassed the false immortal realm. They were immortals. As soon as Chu Kuangren finished speaking, an extremely powerful immortal core fluctuation suddenly erupted from Jingguan's body. A shocking sword intent rose from the ground and pierced through the clouds. "Didn't you hear my master's question?" Jingguan said. The crowd could not help but gulp at that. Master? That guy was Chu Kuangren's follower. F***CKME. Such a terrifying aura. It was an immortal. Chu Kuangren had an immortal as his follower. What kind of terrifying background was that? Who told me he's just an outsider with no background? An immortal as his follower? No background? You must be kidding me. An immortal as his follower? Oh my God. The immortal seeds were not the only ones who were shocked. The ones who were more shocked were the immortals who were hiding in the void. They looked at Jingguan in disbelief, wondering if they were hallucinating or dreaming. Otherwise, how could such a thing happen? Jingguan, the peerless sword immortal who dominated Nara, was a follower of an outsider immortal seed? Was he messing with them? What the hell is going on? One of the immortals asked in confusion, but no one could answer him because everyone else was just as shocked and confused. Chu Kuangren, you don't have to compete with others for a spot, but to enter the celestial ascension pool, you'll have to draw lots. An indifferent voice came from the void. The immortals spoke. Obviously, they did not want to have any conflict with Jingguan. The fact that Chu Kuangren could subdue Jingguan had shocked everyone. They dared not stop Chu Kuangren before they had a clear understanding of the situation. Oh, we still have to draw lots. How troublesome. We're all immortal seeds, so let's settle this in the most direct way. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back and said, I want to be the first to enter. If anyone is unwilling, you can fight me or all of you can come me together. I don't mind either way. His words caused an uproar. The immortal seeds looked at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. What did he just say? He wants to challenge all the immortal seeds from the immortal orthodoxies? Is he crazy? I can't believe it. How dare he do that? Even if he's Chu Kuangren, no matter how powerful he is, isn't it a little too arrogant for him to challenge all the immortal seeds? The ordinary immortal seeds gasped in shock, but the immortal seed from the immortal orthodoxies who were challenged by Chu Kuangren were even more shocked and furious. After all, they were the most outstanding immortal seeds in the immortal seeds Inn, and no immortal heavens. This was especially true for the sage seed sovereigns. They glared at Chu Kuangren furiously. He to it. Jiao, Kuangzu, especially, and A2 Immortal Emperor was, as he could he was Emperor's the Celestial King. Were he Sage too, where the Su Gu was too. He took a step forward, and a majestic monarch chi poured out like a flood. An extremely strong origin energy erupted and crushed the surrounding space. If you can defeat me, I won't have any objections if you want to be the first to enter the Celestial Ascension Pond. Come. The immortals in the void did not say anything. They were all curious to see what Chu Kuangren was capable of. Chu Kuangren beckoned with his finger. Come. Yuanwu made his move. His emperor's chi and origin ripples converged and turned into a golden fist ray. Chu Kuangren stood still. He gently lifted his arm, and his emperor's chi and origin ripples exploded at the same time, shattering the fist ray. Is this all the great primordial god, Dynasty's crown prince, can do? Chu Kuangren did not take a step back. Invincible divine art, sky tremor, thunder. Yuan Wu let out a low roar. His emperor's chi and Taoist patterns intertwined and turned into rays of blue lightning. He then threw a punch, and a thick lightning pillar that was imbued with origin ripples charged towards Chu Kuangren like a dragon. Honorable Emperor's sword art. The Emperor's chi behind Chu Kuangren surged and turned into a golden Emperor avatar. Then, sword chi intertwined in the Emperor avatar's palm and turned into a golden sword shadow that slashed across the void. The sword shadow and the lightning pillar collided. A deafening explosion was heard. The lightning pillar exploded, but the sword chi was unstoppable. It slashed towards Yuan Wu and sent him flying. The power of that attack made everyone's pupils dilate. He defeated a celestial seed king with a single sword attack. This person's combat strength is no weaker than what the rumors say. In fact, he's even stronger. Chu Kuangren stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the kings from the various immortal orthodoxies and said, I've said that I'll allow all of you to come at me together. Why don't you take advantage of this opportunity? His words made the celestial seeds' faces turn pale. Let's go. I don't believe that he can defeat all of us by himself. These celestial seeds came from different immortal orthodoxies. Initially, they had a hostile relationship with each other. However, because of Chu Kuangren, they had become united against a common enemy. It was undeniable that Chu Kuangren had accomplished a great feat: myriad gale finger, infallible sword slash, flame dragon's raging roar. All sorts of powerful immortal technique fluctuations erupted. The immortal technique lights were incredibly dazzling as they continuously bloomed in the void. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who was in the center of the immortal technique attacks, remained as still as a mountain. He stood with his hands behind his back, and as he stood tall and straight, only purple lotuses bloomed around him. They then transformed into 1,000 lotus sword chi that blocked all the immortal technique attacks. Boom, 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 accompanied by a series of deafening explosions. The entire ground shook as cracks spread in all directions. Smoke and dust billowed, covering the sky. Everyone stared at the smoke and dust. There were remnants of violent, immortal technique fluctuations there. Everyone felt that none of the celestial seeds could survive such a terrifying immortal technique attack. Did he succeed? Has this guy been defeated? Among the crowd, there were a few celestial seeds who did not make a move, including Gu Wuqing and Gu Lufang. They looked at the smoke and dust with a smirk. Gu Lufang chuckled and said, "That person won't be defeated so easily." While everyone held their breaths, a wave of Emperor's Qi swept across the sky, dispersing the smoke and dust. Then, a peerless white-robed figure appeared. Chu Kuangren stood proudly with a condescending gaze. He looked at the crowd and said, "Now, it's your turn to take a move from me." As soon as he said that, the surrounding spiritual Qi and wind stopped moving. It was as if the heavens and earth were holding their breath at that moment. Before Chu Kuangren even unleashed his technique, the crowd already felt an unprecedented pressure that made it difficult for them to breathe. With a single thought, the heavens and earth shall perish. His indifferent words reverberated throughout the sky. Then, circles of purplish-red light ripples spread towards the crowd. Those who were hit by the light ripples were sent flying while vomiting blood. Even the celestial seed kings could not help but turn pale. In just 2 short breaths, the celestial seeds were lying on the ground, wailing in pain. Between the heavens and earth, only a white-robed figure stood proudly, like a king looking down on the world. Chapter 968. Shocking, shocking. An unparalleled shock struck the hearts of everyone present. He had defeated all the immortal seeds with one move. That kind of strength stunned the other immortal seeds who did not participate in the battle. They stared at the proud, white-robed figure in awe. Chu Kuangren retracted his emperor's chi and looked at the immortal seeds before him. I'll go in first. Now, who else has any objections? The immortal seeds lowered their heads wherever he looked. So many immortal seeds were defeated by a single person and suppressed to the point where they couldn't even raise their heads. How could they have the face to say no? He has done his best as an immortal seed. Gu Wuqing looked at Chu Kuangren with admiration and even yearning. Yes, no immortal seed can be like him. He has defeated a group of immortal seed rulers before even stepping foot on the immortal ascension path. Gu Lufang could not help but exclaim, has he really not stepped foot on the immortal ascension path? But how can his combat strength be so strong? Gu Wuqing asked doubtfully. I'm afraid this is an anomaly. Gu Lufang murmured. Waves of powerful immortal energy erupted in the void. Evidently, these immortals were shocked by Chu Kuangren's combat strength. They could not even control their own immortal energy fluctuations. With such combat strength, has he really not stepped foot on the immortal ascension path? Even the oldest immortal orthodoxies might not be able to find such a powerful immortal seed, let alone an outsider. What kind of background does he have? Chu Kuangren sensed the immortal energy fluctuations and looked into the void. He said, What's wrong, immortals? Do you have any objections? Hearing this, Jian Guan also took a step forward, and the sword will fill the air. Sure. After a moment of silence, the immortals allowed Chu Kuangren to enter first. After all, the immortal ascension pool had a massive amount of energy, enough to support the baptism of all the immortal seeds. Let's go, Chu Kuangren said to Lan Yu and the others behind him. Immediately, they entered the immortal ascension pool. Looking at their backs, the immortal seeds had complicated looks in their eyes, and they felt an indescribable sense of defeat. D*M in it. Yuan Wu punched the ground with a face full of indignation. As a ruler of celestial seeds, he was proud, but today his pride was completely crushed by Chu Kuangren. Not only him, but the others felt the same way too. Are we going to let him in just like that? The immortals were conversing in the void. Let's investigate this person's background first. Why would Sword Crown follow this person? An immortal said. Before figuring this out, they didn't dare to act rashly for fear of provoking some formidable power. Although they were immortal orthodoxies, they were not completely invincible. There were many who could threaten them. For example, the Divine Beast Clan, the immortal ancient Taoist orthodoxy, and so on. All right, then we'll take advantage of the time he's in the immortal ascension pool to investigate this person's background. Then we'll take action. The 14 immortal orthodoxies present were moving together. The amount of information they could mobilize was unimaginably vast, practically covering the entire Azure Orchid immortal world. It could be said that no one could hide from such a search. Meanwhile, in the celestial ascension pool, Chu Kuangren stared at the 10-kilometer-wide lake in front of him with a hint of surprise in his eyes. So this is the immortal ascension pond. It really is extraordinary. Little Fox and Lan Yu were also filled with anticipation. The little fox reverted to her true form and jumped into the immortal ascension pond with a plop. She started swimming there. It's so comfortable. Boss, come down and let's bathe together. Little Fox said. Beside her, Jingguan smiled and said, Master, this immortal ascension pond isn't that useful to me. I'll stay here and protect you. As he said that, he walked a distance away. Green lotuses bloomed in the void, forming layers of restrictions that isolated the 10-kilometer-wide immortal ascension pond. After Jingguan left, Lan Yu looked at Chu Kuangren. Master, let me help you change your clothes. Chu Kuangren nodded and did not refuse. All right. Lan Yu walked up and helped Chu Kuangren take off his clothes. Looking at his flawless white, jade-like body, Lan Yu could not help but blush. Master, your skin is so good. It's so fair and smooth. Cough, cough, is that a compliment? Chu Kuangren could not help but cough twice. Fair and smooth? Why did it feel so weird to use that to describe him? After Chu Kuangren took off his clothes, he walked into the immortal ascension pond. In an instant, The surrounding immortal light soaked his body. He could feel surges of unique immortal ascension pond energy entering his body through his pores. It cleansed his body of impurities, opened up his meridians, and purified his emperor's chi. Meridian cleansing. Chu Kuangren murmured. It was not his first time experiencing this, but the immortal ascension pond's effects were more obvious. Just as he was experiencing the wonders of the immortal ascension pond, he suddenly felt the transcendent lotus seed in his body tremble. There was a hint of desire in it. The movement of the transcendent lotus seed caught Chu Kuangren's attention. To nourish this transcendent lotus seed, I'll need a large amount of water and wood essence. Can this immortal ascension pond be used to irrigate the transcendent lotus seed? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Just as he was guessing, he heard the sound of water beside him. He looked over and saw an infinitely beautiful, white body entering the immortal ascension pond and walking towards him. Chu Kuangren was stunned. Lan Yu? Master, let me massage your shoulders. Lan Yu walked behind Chu Kuangren and said. She did not mind her naked body at all. To her, her entire body belonged to Chu Kuangren. Letting him see her naked body was nothing to her. Chu Kuangren recovered from his shock after a while. All right, he could feel Lan Yu's soft hands massaging his shoulders. From time to time, he could also feel a pair of soft breasts pressing against his back. Lan Yu's body is quite nice after all. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. Boss, I'll help you too. The little fox swam over. Unknowingly, she had already transformed into her human form. Her face was flushed red, and she looked very cute. She came up to massage Chu Kuangren's back and legs. However, how could a fox's hands be so nimble? Chu Kuangren activated his mind power and immediately flung the fox away. You're so clumsy. I think you should just stand aside and watch your back. With a splash, water splashed everywhere. The little fox emerged from the water and looked at her tiny arms and legs. She could not help but pout. As expected, boss, you're still interested in those who are more mature. I've got to grow up faster. However, as a divine beast, the moonlight fox had a long lifespan. She was only in the growth stage now, and no one knew when she would reach maturity. Chu Kuangren was enjoying Lan Yu's service. Just like that, 3 days passed. Chu Kuangren felt that the immortal ascension pond's baptism was almost done. Lan Yu and the little fox's physique had also improved greatly. Logically speaking, they should leave now and let the other orthodoxies in. However, Chu Kuangren did not leave. He even stayed in the immortal ascension pond and did not come up. Master, do you have any plans? Lan Yu asked curiously. Yes, I do have a plan, but I'm afraid that the other orthodoxies will kill me. But why should I be afraid? He chuckled. Chapter 969. Chu Kuangren was still in the celestial ascension pond. He was planning something. With a thought, an incomparably violent suction force erupted from his body. Instantly, waves surged and splashed everywhere. Chu Kuangren swallowed a large amount of the pond water into his body. He wanted to use the celestial ascension pond water to irrigate the transcendent lotus. The celestial ascension pond was a natural water and wood essence. It was the most suitable nutrient for the transcendent lotus. The transcendent lotus seed that was irrigated by the celestial ascension pond water began to sprout and form a flower bud in a very short time. That was not all. A lotus petal bloomed, and the Tier 1 transcendent lotus was formed. Mysterious Taoist patterns flowed on the lotus petal, and Chu Kuangren channeled his Sword Tao origin energy into the petal. In an instant, the origin energy evolved. Chu Kuangren looked at the lotus petal and felt as if his mind was pulled into an ethereal realm. Countless Taoist techniques surged into his mind. If one's comprehension was not strong enough, they would be overwhelmed by the Taoist techniques in an instant. However, Chu Kuangren did not. His comprehension was so amazing that it could be called a monster. Not only did the countless Taoist techniques not dazzle him, but also allowed him to quickly find a pattern and derive sword techniques based on those Taoist techniques. At that moment, the celestial ascension pond water continued to pour into the lotus seed, and the second petal gradually formed. Chu Kuangren then channeled another surge of origin energy into it to derive the origin Taoist techniques. Chu Kuangren's three souls, heaven, earth, and human, were activated at the same time. All three souls were trying to understand the transcendent lotus together. He quickly deduced all kinds of celestial arts. In the outside world, the sword crown was guarding the barrier to prevent anyone from entering and disturbing Chu Kuangren's baptism. However, a strange energy fluctuation suddenly came from the celestial ascension pond, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth surged into the barrier. What's going on? The sword crown was stunned. He was not the only one. In the outside world, the few immortals also noticed the strange movement. What's going on? Why is there such a sudden movement in the celestial ascension pond? The immortals looked at each other and activated their immortal consciousness to sense what was happening in the celestial ascension pond. However, before their immortal consciousness could get close, it was blocked by the sword crown's barrier. Humph! Jian Guan snorted lightly. Sword intent suffused the air and severed those immortal senses one by one. Everyone, my young master is undergoing a baptism. Aren't you being too rude by extending your immortal senses over to peep at him? Sword Crown, what happened inside? An immortal asked coldly. This has nothing to do with you, Jian Guan said indifferently. Let's wait and see first, said an immortal. Not long after, waves of mysterious Tao sounds began to reverberate. That was the sound of the great Tao of the universe. The pupils of the immortals present shrank. Is Chu Kuangren creating his own immortal technique in there? Isn't it baptism? How did it become self-created immortal techniques? Moreover, he's not even an immortal, so how could he have self-created immortal techniques? What's going on? The immortals were puzzled. Jianguan was also a little confused. What was the young master doing inside? In the immortal ascension pool, Chu Kuangren absorbed the 5 kilometers of water from the lake and watered the godly lotus seed. In next to no time, a proof seal condensed in a form above him, and it represented that he'd created an immortal technique of his own. However, it didn't take long for another seal of corroboration to form. The second immortal technique was completed. The godly lotus seed grew from the first grade to the second grade, and then to the third grade. With Chu Kuangren's strong perception and the help of the godly lotus seed, he was continuously creating his own immortal techniques. If news of this were spread, the entire Qinglan cosmos would be shocked. After all, self-creating immortal techniques was something that even an immortal could only achieve after spending a lot of effort. For seals, 5 seals, 6 seals, in less than 10 days, 8 proof seals appeared above Chu Kuangren's head, proving that he had self-created 8 immortal techniques. Boss, you're going against the heavens. Beside the celestial ascension pool, Little Fox was dumbfounded. In front of them, the 10 kilometers of celestial ascension pool had already disappeared. Not even a drop of water remained. It was all absorbed by the transcendent lotus seed. All of a sudden, another proof seal appeared above Chu Kuangren's head. 9 seals, 9 immortal techniques. Outside the celestial ascension pool, the crowd of immortals could no longer hold themselves back. They could sense that within the celestial ascension pool, rich and mysterious Taoist rhymes reverberated continuously. Countless spiritual chi condensed, golden lotuses sprouted from the ground, and auspicious phenomena such as dragons and phoenixes appeared continuously. That commotion had far exceeded the commotion that could be caused by an ordinary immortal creating his own immortal technique. Moreover, it had lasted for a whole 10 days. No, we must find out what Chu Kuangren is doing inside to cause such a commotion. Let's wait a little longer. He'll come out sooner or later. For some reason, the immortals' eyelids twitched. They had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. Oh, there's news. At that moment, one of the immortals said as he took out a jade scroll. The Sage City's investigation on Chu Kuangren is in here. He tossed the jade scroll in his hand into the air. Then, The jade scroll reflected a series of images and a large amount of text information. Soon, everyone had a clear understanding of what Chu Kuangren had done after he came to the immortal realm. Based on this investigation, Chu Kuangren is indeed an outsider. He should have no background in the Green Orchid immortal realm. Then why would Sword Crown follow him? One of the immortals asked curiously. Look at this message. It says that Chu Kuangren and Sword Crown met in the ancient Sparrow City. At that time, Sword Crown was just an old drunkard. He was extremely sloppy and dispirited. One of the immortals clicked on a video, and the image of an old drunkard appeared on it. It was the old Sword Crown. Looking at the Sword Crown in the video, everyone could not associate him with the high-spirited and peerless Sword Immortal. We can speculate that the Sword Crown had yet to recover from his serious injuries from his battle with Sword Crown and became a cripple. However, the Sword Crown in front of us was at his peak, a true Sword Immortal. All of this must have something to do with Chu Kuangren. Perhaps he's the one who helped Sword Crown recover. And that's the reason why Sword Crown followed him. The Sage City Immortals said confidently. His words made the crowd look at each other. Sword Crown hasn't recovered from his injuries for so many years. How did Chu Kuangren do it? Does he have the ability to do so? Could it be that he's also a sage doctor? The crowd was in disbelief. A sage doctor was too rare. In the current generation of the Green Orchid Immortal Realm, they had never heard of a doctor who had reached the level of a sage doctor. I know it's hard to believe, but this is the only explanation that could explain why Sword Crown would follow Chu Kuangren. However, after disregarding all the impossibilities, no matter how unbelievable the remaining possibility is, it must be the truth. The immortal said calmly. This person was an immortal from the Sage City, and his name was Nan Ku. Upon hearing his words, the crowd began to believe him a little. Chu Kuangren healed Sword Crown and allowed him to follow him. This is more acceptable than having a terrifying orthodoxy behind him. In short, since we now know why Sword Crown followed Chu Kuangren, we don't have to worry anymore. We can't let this person live. Nan Ku said coldly. The Sage City's celestial seed king was killed by Chu Kuangren. He would not let this matter rest so easily. Chapter 970. In the void, the immortals were communicating through their immortal consciousnesses. Sage City, Nan Ku had decided to get rid of Chu Kuangren right here and now to prevent any future troubles. The immortals from the Divine Flame School of Light and the Golden Hill Temple had the same idea as him. As for the rest of the immortals, they did not say a word. Compared to the Divine Flame cult and the other immortal orthodoxies, they did not have much of a grudge against Chu Kuangren. There was no need for them to fight Sword Crown to the death for him. I've long wanted to see Sword Crown's strength. An immortal carrying a saber on his back said indifferently. That person was an immortal from the Sword Burial Sea. Sword Crown and Sword Crown were mortal enemies, so there was no possibility of reconciliation between them. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to attack Sword Crown and Chu Kuangren, who had helped Sword Crown recover his strength. Let us, the great primordial god dynasty, take part in this. However, I have a request. After we kill Chu Kuangren, the great primordial god dynasty must take the woman beside him with us. A middle-aged man in embroidered robes said. He was an immortal from the great primordial god dynasty, the most honorable prince of the dynasty. The woman he was referring to was naturally Lan Yu, who had obtained the winged human supremacy's inheritance and possessed the radiant combat immortal physique. The immortals' eyes lit up when they heard that. How could they have forgotten about that? That woman has the winged human supremacy's inheritance. If you want to take away just like that, isn't that a little too much? That's right. We want that woman's inheritance too. Prince Yuan frowned. If that's the case, then the woman's inheritance can be divided equally. What about the Moonlight Fox? We want the Moonlight Fox too. And Chu Kuangren, he has a big secret on him. After we kill him, we must bring his corpse back for research. Before the immortals could make a move, they had already started discussing how to divide the loot after killing Chu Kuangren. From their perspective, Chu Kuangren was a treasure trove. Just the Moonlight Fox and Lan Yu alone were enough to tempt them. not to mention the secrets of how he controlled multiple origins and the Phoenix Flames. These were also very tempting to the Immortals. Inside, the Immortal Ascension Pool. The 9 technique testimony seals floated above Chu Kuangren's head. He slowly opened his eyes, and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. The 9 stages of Lotus Blossom allowed me to grasp 9 types of immortal arts. The celestial method is secondary. The most important thing is that I now have 9 more Dharma Testimony seals. In addition to the previous 2 Dharma Testimony seals, I now have 11 more Dharma Testimony seals. In addition to the power of origin, my battle prowess has become stronger. He glanced at the empty celestial ascension pond and smiled faintly before he stood up and left. Lan Yu thoughtfully took out a set of clothes from the side. Chu Kuangren activated his spatial conveyor technique, and the clothes automatically covered his body. Lan Yu's eyes flashed with disappointment. The space transportation technique was indeed useful, but it was a pity. She wanted to get closer to her young master while she was wearing her clothes. "Let's go," Chu Kuangren said. Outside, the Immortal Ascension Pool. "Then it's decided," Immortal Nank of the Holy City said calmly. After a round of discussion, they finally came to a decision on how to divide the spoils. The Immortals who didn't participate in the operation were tempted. Why don't they join as well? At that moment, the restriction outside the Immortal Ascension Pool shone brightly. Chu Kuangren and the others walked out. "We're finally out." A murderous intent flashed across Nank's eyes. However, he suddenly frowned and looked behind Chu Kuangren. His eyes narrowed. "Where's the Immortal Ascension Pond?" The other Immortals' expressions changed when they heard that. Behind Chu Kuangren, all that was left of the Immortal Ascension Pond was a large crater, and the water was long gone. The Immortal Ascension Pond was gone. At that moment, not only the Immortals, but the entire mountain peak was in an uproar. "Chu Kuangren, what's going on? Why is the Immortal Ascension Pond gone? Where did you put the Immortal Ascension Pond?" "The Immortal Ascension Pond is gone? What should we do then? We haven't even been baptized yet. What did Chu Kuangren do inside? We shouldn't have let him in first." The Immortal Seeds were agitated. After all, they were here for the Immortal Ascension Pond. Now that the Immortal Ascension Pond was gone, how could they accept that? They had fought for nothing and waited for so long for nothing. "Chu Kuangren, you must give us an explanation," Yuan Wu of the Great Yuan God Dynasty said to Chu Kuangren. The other Immortal Seeds also stared at him. "I'm sorry, but I've sucked the entire Celestial Ascension Pool dry." Chu Kuangren had no intention of hiding it, so he admitted it right away. Bathing in the Immortal Ascension Pool? What kind of reward was that? This Immortal Ascension Pool could be used to nourish the 10,000 Law God Lotus. How could he miss such a good thing? Of course, he had to make the best use of it. As for guilt, there was no such thing. In any case, the Immortal Ascension Pond was naturally nurtured by the heavens and the earth. Suck dry. Upon hearing Chu Kuangren's answer, everyone was dumbfounded. The size of the Celestial Ascension Pond was enough to support the baptism of all the Immortal Seeds present, yet it was sucked dry by Chu Kuangren alone. What kind of joke was this? In the legends of the ancient immortal world, there are giants who can drink all the water in a river. But he's not a giant, so how did he do it? Are you kidding me? Even if he's a giant, how could he absorb all the terrifying energy in the Immortal Ascension Pond? Not even immortals can do it. Puzzled, shocked, and dumbfounded, the Immortal Seeds stared at Chu Kuangren with different emotions. No matter what, Chu Kuangren had made the Immortal Ascension Pond disappear and robbed them of their opportunities of fortune. This was true. They glared at each other with eyes that were about to spit fire. "Chu Kuangren, you deserve to die." Yuan Wu gritted his teeth and said. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. "What? Do you want to fight?" The Immortal Seeds recalled the scene of Chu Kuangren defeating them in one move not long ago. Their hearts trembled as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them, and they quickly calmed down. Yes, so what if they were angry? Were they supposed to rush up and fight Chu Kuangren? Were they his opponents? Would they not be courting death if they went up? Chu Kuangren, you're digging your own grave by robbing others of their opportunities of fortune. At that moment, a cold voice rang out from the sky. Then, a few figures walked out from the void, and a terrifying, immortal, domineering aura filled the entire place. All the immortal seeds were shocked, but then, their faces lit up as they looked at Chu Kuangren with a gloating expression. The immortals have made their move. Chu Kuangren's actions have finally triggered the immortals' killing intent. He's dead meat now. That's right. With the immortals making their move, Chu Kuangren won't die even if he has 10 lives. Karma, karma. The flaming sun immortal of the divine flame church, Nank of the celestial capital, the king of the great primordial god dynasty, frigid saber immortal of the burial sword ocean, sacred monk Ju Fa of the Golden Hill Temple. My god, 5 immortals are making their move. Chu Kuangren is really dead meat now. When the 5 immortals made their move, their overbearing immortal core energy shook the surrounding void and completely sealed off the surrounding space. Jingguan's eyes revealed a hint of seriousness as he sneered. 5 immortals are making their move just to deal with the immortal seed who hasn't become an immortal yet. The few of you have really embarrassed the immortals. Not just for Chu Kuangren, but also for you, Jingguan. Frigid Saber Immortal said coldly. Jingguan's immortal core energy erupted, and his sword intent soared into the sky as he confronted the 5 immortals. Oh, you could try then. Chapter 971. Then you can give a try. The celestial core power on Sword Crown's body erupted, and his sword intent was shocking. The 5 immortals looked at him seriously. No wonder he is one of the 7 champions. This kind of chi is extraordinary. At his peak, he was probably close to the Earth immortal level. Everyone, be careful. Just do as I said. The Cold Sky Saber Immortal said. He took the first step forward, and an incomparably powerful saber might burst forth, transforming into a huge saber shadow that crushed towards the sword crown. Holy monk Ju Fa of the Golden Mountain Temple followed closely behind. He put his palms together, and a golden Buddha materialized out of thin air. The Buddha's palm blasted out, accompanied by Buddhist light that filled the sky. You want to stop me with just this? Jingguan snorted coldly and pointed his sword finger. A green lotus bloomed in the air, and the 1,000 lotus sword will whizzed out, shattering the blade shadows and forcing back the Dharma of the Buddha. At this moment, Prince Yuan made his move. He took a step forward, and countless Taoist patterns condensed in the void. His celestial core power was like an inescapable net that pressed down on the sword crown. His immortal essence manifested into thousands of evil ghosts and asuras, turning the surroundings into purgatory. Immortal magic, Hell Realm. Prince Yuan sneered. Jingguan frowned slightly. Oh, a domain-type immortal art. You want to use this move to trap me? Isn't that a little too whimsical? He pointed his sword finger, and sword chi spread out in all directions. Thousands of evil ghosts and asuras collapsed and frantically attacked the domain immortal technique. The sword crown truly lives up to its name. This sword energy is something that few in the entire Qinglan immortal world can compare to. Prince Yuan's expression changed slightly. Hurry up and take action. Grand Prince Yuan won't be able to hold on for much longer. Nanku said. Then he, Cold Sky Blade Immortal, and Holy Monk Ju Fa attacked at the same time, suppressing the sword crown. In addition to Prince Yuan's realm immortal technique, the power of the 4 immortals finally managed to delay sword crown. On the other hand, the flaming sun immortal of the divine flame church was glaring at Chu Kuangren with a burning murderous intent in his eyes. So, this is your battle plan. The 4 immortals will restrain sword crown, and you, the weakest, will deal with me. Chu Kuangren chuckled. The weakest? Flaming Sun raised his eyebrows as he clutched the wound on his arm. It had been cut by the sword crown not long ago. Losing an arm caused his strength to drop drastically. It was true that he was the weakest of the 5 immortals. At that thought, His eyes were filled with hatred. He glared at Chu Kuangren and said, "You've killed the divine flame cult of enlightenment's deities one after another, and you've even caused me to lose an arm. Today, I must avenge myself by killing you." In the face of the immortal's killing intent, Chu Kuangren remained calm. "Do you really think that you have the ability to kill me?" Upon hearing that, Flaming Sun was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. "Chu Kuangren, no matter how strong you are, you're still not an immortal. No matter how weak I am, I'm still an immortal. Killing you is as easy as flipping my palm." After he finished speaking, he raised his hand and gathered the surrounding streams of fire. Immortal elemental energy fluctuations suddenly erupted. That was the complete power of Origin. A blazing wave of fire whistled out as he struck out with his palm, and merely the remnant might had already transformed the surrounding 5,000 kilometers into a sea of fire. The surrounding immortal seeds hurriedly retreated, not daring to approach. So powerful. This is the power of an immortal. The immortal seed is no match for it. Even an immortal seed king would be helpless in front of such power. The immortal seeds were amazed. At the same time, they looked at Chu Kuangren with excitement in their eyes. Chu Kuangren had defeated them with a single move, humiliating them, and even snatching away their opportunities of fortune from the celestial ascension pond. They could not wait to tear him into pieces, but they did not have the strength to do so. Now, an immortal had made his move. To them, the immortal seeds were just immortal seeds. In the face of an immortal's mighty power, they would definitely be destroyed. However, just when everyone thought that Chu Kuangren was dead for sure, they suddenly saw a terrifying surge of energy erupt from Chu Kuangren's body. One surge, two surges, three surges, a total of 14 origin energies erupted. However, it was not over yet. One after another, mysterious seals emerged and hovered above Chu Kuangren's head, enhancing his strength. Those were the technique validation seals. 1 stone, 2 stones, 3 stones, 11 technique validation seals were used. The power of Origin and the technique validation seals. Chu Kuangren's 2 trump cards were unleashed at the same time, causing his entire body to shine brightly with a majestic aura. The Descendant Self sword was unleashed, and a dazzling purple sword ray erupted. That sword technique pursued the ultimate attack. It was a brand new immortal technique formed after Chu Kuangren upgraded the heaven-slaying sword drawing technique into an immortal technique and merged it with the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent. He still called it the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent. However, it was the 1,000 Lotus Sword intent that belonged solely to him. The sword ray wrapped around the purple lotus and tore apart the sea of flames, completely disintegrating Flaming Sun Immortal's attack. That scene shocked everyone at the scene. Even Flaming Sun Immortal could not help but widen his eyes as if he had seen something unbelievable. 14 origin energies, 11 technique validation seals. What the hell is going on with this guy? Before he could answer his question, Chu Kuangren had already taken the initiative to attack him with his sword. Chu Kuangren's movements were unpredictable. At that moment, it was as if Chu Kuangren had merged into the void. Flaming Sun Immortal's immortal consciousness could not capture his movements. It was as if Chu Kuangren was everywhere in front of him, but it also felt like an illusion. That was Chu Kuangren's self-created movement technique, the ethereal illusion. Sky Weaver's sword chi. Chu Kuangren's figure was constantly shifting in the void, but his sword chi continued to surge out one after another. They intertwined in the void and formed into an inescapable net that carried an overbearing, murderous aura as it headed towards the Flaming Sun Immortal. Another self-created immortal technique. Sensing the impending danger, Flaming Sun Immortal let out a roar and the immortal core on his body erupted. Majestic waves of fire swept out and shattered the inescapable net formed by the intertwining sword chi. However, after the sword chi net was shattered, a bright moon appeared in the void. As the moonlight flowed, countless sword chi shot out from it. It was like a mighty and unstoppable river of sword chi. Moonlight illuminates the river. Chu Kuangren's voice rang out. Flaming Sun Immortal roared as his immortal core circulated. He blasted out a giant python that was formed by flames and collided with the river of sword chi. When the two forces collided, Flaming Sun Immortal was pushed back 100 meters. 10,000 ghosts resentment. That was not the end. Chu Kuangren appeared out of thin air and spun the Descendant Self technique in his hand. The resentment chi that existed in the immortal ancient battlefield swept over and turned into thousands of wailing ghosts that charged towards Flaming Sun Immortal. 14 origin energies, 11 Dharma seals, and an endless stream of immortal techniques had allowed Chu Kuangren to suppress Flaming Sun Immortal with his immortal seed body. Even if Flaming Sun Immortal was at his lowest point and was the weakest immortal, he was still an immortal. That scene made the immortal seeds feel like they were dreaming. The immortal was pushed back and suppressed. Moreover, he was suppressed by an immortal seed. This kind of thing was completely beyond their imagination. What is this? We're all trying so hard to ascend to immortality, but he can already fight against an immortal. They're on two completely different levels. One of the immortal seeds said with an indescribable shock. The rest of the immortal seeds, including the kings, could not help but feel a sense of helplessness when they saw the peerless white-robed figure that could fight against an immortal. The gap between them was just too big. Chapter 972. Outside the Celestial Ascension Pool, Jianguan fought against 4 immortals alone. Chu Kuangren, who was only a celestial seed, was able to fight against the immortals and even suppress them to a certain extent. The celestial seeds were baffled by the situation. The difference between a celestial seed and an immortal was like the difference between heaven and earth. They had never heard of anyone who could overcome this barrier and fight against an immortal. Even in the ancient immortal realm, there were not many who could do that. Chu Kuangren is an anomaly. If he doesn't die, he'll definitely become the strongest existence in the Qinglan immortal realm in the future. It's almost certain that he'll reach the 7 crowns level. The celestial seeds were shocked and amazed. The celestial seed kings were even more dejected. They could see that there was an unimaginable gap between them and Chu Kuangren. It was difficult for them to cross. Boom, 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 one after another. Immortal techniques were unleashed from Chu Kuangren's hands towards the Flaming Sun Immortal in an attempt to suppress him. At that moment, thousands of evil spirits formed from resentment rushed towards Flaming Sun Immortal, wanting to tear him into pieces. Flaming Sun Immortal's expression was extremely gloomy as divine flames surrounded his body, burning the evil spirits into ashes. However, as long as the resentment was not exhausted, the evil spirits would not stop. D*M in it. D*M in it. How does this guy have such a strange immortal technique? Coupled with the 11 Dharma testimony seals, the power of this immortal technique has far exceeded the limits of what the celestial seeds can unleash. D*M in it. As an immortal, Flaming Sun Immortal was now suppressed by an immortal seed. This made him feel ashamed and humiliated. If word got out, he would become a laughing stock among the immortals. The first immortal to be suppressed by an immortal seed? No. If he were to bear such a title, he would probably spend the rest of his life in endless mockery. He would never allow that to happen. Chu Kuangren, I'll kill you today. Immortal Yin re-bellowed furiously. The immortal elemental energy in his body was pushed to the limit. The vast immortal elemental energy transformed into boundless scarlet flames. Majestic waves of fire incinerated the grievous energy within a radius of 10,000. Li Chu Kuangren cast his ethereal illusion body and dodged the flames. He smirked. You're angry. Chu Kuangren died. Immortal Flaming Sun ignored his opponent's mockery. He was so angry that his eyes were bloodshot. Divine fire soared into the sky, burning more than half the sky. The land within a radius of millions of kilometers dried up and cracked because of the extreme heat. Countless immortal seeds were drenched in sweat as they activated their cultivation to resist. Chu Kuangren looked calmly at the furious, flaming sun immortal. With the dermic seal above his head, he was surrounded by origin energy that shone brightly. In the endless sea of fire, it formed its own space. Extreme fire of 8 desolation dominate the world. Immortal Yin Ri let out a long roar. The divine flames around him erupted and gathered in his palm, turning into an enormous scarlet fireball. It was like a great sun, the fiery light dazzling, illuminating the entire immortal ancient battlefield. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren's gaze froze. Even the weakest, half-crippled immortal was not to be underestimated. With his current strength, it would not be easy for him to block it. In the distance, Sword Crown, who was being held back by the 4 immortals, looked anxious. "Damn it," he shouted in a low voice, and a green sword light shot out from his body. The green lotus immortal sword was in his hand. The 1,000 lotus or intent was activated to its limit. Thousands of sword chi swept across all directions, destroying the evil spirits and asuras. Upon seeing that, the 4 immortals did not dare to be careless. They quickly activated their immortal primordial energy to defend themselves and used various immortal techniques. Sword Crown, you may be strong, but you have yet to fully recover from your injuries. It won't be easy for you to defeat us so quickly. That's right. Chu Kuangren will die today. It's already amazing that he can do this, but he's still below the immortal realm. Against immortal flaming sun, there's nothing he can do. The 4 immortals said coldly, trying to distract Sword Crown's mind. On the other side, immortal flaming sun unleashed his full strength, holding up a great sun with one hand. Under the illumination of the flames, Chu Kuangren looked exceptionally small. Then, the great sun of flames smashed down on him. Wherever the great sun passed, the void was distorted. It was as if the immortal realm's space had collapsed. The immortal seeds were extremely shocked. This was the true strength of an immortal. It's over. Chu Kuangren is really done for. He definitely won't be able to block this attack. No one thought that any immortal seed could block this immortal's full force attack. Even Lan Yu could not help but feel worried. Little Fox was as anxious as a cat on a hot tin roof. Gu Wuqing's eyes were bloodshot. His benefactor was about to be killed by an immortal here, yet he could not do anything about it. This made him extremely unwilling. Sigh, what a pity. Gu Lufang could not help but sigh. He truly felt sorry for Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's talent and strength were not something an ordinary immortal seed could compare to. If he did not die, he would definitely achieve great things in the future. If he doesn't die, he might become the destined one in the prophecy, Gu Lufang murmured, feeling extremely regretful. Just when everyone thought that Chu Kuangren would not be able to block immortal flaming sun's attack, a burst of bloody light suddenly erupted from Chu Kuangren's body. The blood-colored light shot into the sky, and it actually contained Buddhist light and resentment. 2 completely different types of energy shook the void in all directions. A bloody Buddha statue with 3 heads and 6 arms appeared behind Chu Kuangren. Then, it turned into a gigantic, resentful Buddha avatar. Not far away, sacred monk Zhu Fa of the Golden Hill Temple was shocked when he saw the Buddha statue. That's the 3 heads and 6 arms resentful Buddha. The immortal weapon, the 3 heads and 6 arms resentful Buddha, the sinister Buddha sect's immortal weapon of the past. Now, this ancient immortal weapon was about to shine brilliantly in Chu Kuangren's hands. Boundless blood-colored Buddhist light surged as the gigantic Buddha of resentment avatar put its palms together, and the Buddhist light blasted towards the gigantic fireball. The 2 unparalleled forces collided together. The surrounding void collapsed. The entire immortal ancient battlefield was shaken. The shockwave of energy swept across, and some of the immortal seeds that were closer could not withstand the force and exploded into a bloody mist. When the dust settled, Chu Kuangren was seen standing proudly with the 3 heads and 6 arms resentful Buddha sitting in the void behind him. That's a heavenly immortal weapon. Immortal Flaming Sun's expression changed. Immortals were categorized into different levels. Naturally, there were immortal techniques and immortal weapons. Normal immortal weapons, earthly immortal weapons, heavenly immortal weapons. Heavenly immortal weapons were considered rare treasures in the entire Green Orchid immortal realm. Even the Divine Flame sect did not have one. However, Chu Kuangren had taken out a heavenly immortal weapon. D*M. Why does this person have so many trump cards? Flaming Sun Immortal was furious. Even if you have an immortal weapon, your cultivation level is still below the immortal realm. How much of this weapon's power can you unleash? You may be able to block my attack, but I don't believe you can use this immortal weapon to block me 10 times, or even 100 times. Flaming Sun Immortal roared and activated his divine flame again. However, Chu Kuangren merely smiled. Who told you that I only have one immortal weapon on me? He raised his hand and took out an ancient green mirror. The ancient mirror soared into the sky and shone towards immortal Flaming Sunday. A ray of green light shot out, accompanied by the cry of a green lawn. Flaming Sun Immortal was hit by the green light, and half of his body was pulverized. Then, the resentful Buddha behind Chu Kuangren attacked. It put its palms together and unleashed a bloody Buddhist light, killing Flaming Sun Immortal. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Before the crowd could react, Flaming Sun Immortal was already dead. Chu Kuangren had defied the heavens and killed an immortal. Chapter 973. The Flaming Sun Immortal had fallen. That scene caused the entire battlefield to fall into a dead silence. Behind Chu Kuangren was the resentful Buddha, whose blood-colored Buddhist light shone upon the world. Beside him was the ancient green phoenix mirror. As the mirror rotated, it seemed as if it could shatter mountains and rivers and shatter stars. Another immortal weapon, and this immortal weapon looks much more powerful than the 3-headed, 6-armed resentful Buddha. Where did this person get so many immortal weapons, and each one is more powerful than the last? Where did he get all of them? The crowd was dumbfounded. Immortal weapons were usually owned by immortals, and some of the immortal seeds possessed them as well. They were either people with great fortune or powerful backgrounds. However, even if they had immortal weapons, they were mostly ordinary immortal weapons. Yet, Chu Kuangren casually took out a heavenly immortal weapon. That ancient mirror could instantly kill the Flaming Sun Immortal, and the fact that it could allow an immortal seed to unleash such power meant that it was even more terrifying than a heavenly immortal weapon. Is that the green phoenix mirror? Among the crowd, a demonic beast could not help but be shocked when he saw the ancient mirror beside Chu Kuangren. Why would the Honorable Demon Court's painstaking search for the green phoenix mirror appear in the hands of a human? What was going on? Chu Kuangren did not know that his possession of the green phoenix mirror was seen by others. Even if he knew, he would not care. The green phoenix mirror was left behind by Qing Feng. For some reason, he did not ask for it when he left. However, since the immortal weapon was so powerful, he was more than happy to keep it in his hands as a trump card. That was why he killed an immortal the moment he attacked. What a terrifying immortal weapon. This item is at least a true immortal weapon. There are true immortal weapons in the Green Orchid immortal realm. The other immortals who did not participate in the battle against Chu Kuangren could not help but feel shocked when they saw the Flaming Sun Immortal being killed. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren held the 2 immortal weapons in his hands as he looked into the void and said, I wonder which other immortal wishes to kill me. As a celestial seed, he dared to openly challenge an immortal. This scene made countless people exclaim in surprise. Chu Kuangren was one of a kind among the current generation of immortal seeds. At this point, the other immortals did not dare to act rashly. Not far away, the four immortals who were surrounding Sword Crown were shocked by Chu Kuangren's combat strength. They were slightly distracted, which gave Sword Crown an opportunity to break through Prince Yuan's immortal domain-level technique and rush out. Jingguan came to Chu Kuangren's side. "Master, are you all right? A half-crippled immortal can't hurt me." Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Jingguan looked at Chu Kuangren. Like the others, he could not help but be shocked. Even if he was a half-crippled immortal, he was still an immortal. "Everyone, do any of you still want to fight?" Jingguan looked at the rest of the immortals. Sword light flowed around the green lotus immortal sword in his hand, and a violent sword will swept in all directions, causing the immortals to be fearful. "Retreat." Nanku's expression was somewhat ugly. It was already the limit for the four immortals to restrain Sword Crown. Now that the Flaming Sun immortal was dead and Sword Crown was no longer restricted, none of the immortals were willing to face the resentful Buddha and the Green Phoenix mirror head-on if they wanted to kill Chu Kuangren. The immortal's death trap collapsed just like that. It ended with Chu Kuangren killing the Flaming Sun immortal. "Ha! If no immortals are willing to fight, then we shall leave." Chu Kuangren kept the Green Phoenix mirror. The resentful Buddha said indifferently. It was not that he did not want to deal with the rest of the immortals who surrounded him. It was just that the strength of these immortals far surpassed the one-armed Flaming Sun immortal. Even with the Green Phoenix mirror, he did not have the confidence to defeat them. Not to mention that Jingguan had not fully recovered his strength. After that, Chu Kuangren left with his people. Looking at his departing figure, the crowd had mixed feelings. Today, they finally understood what it meant by "there was always someone better than you." Even the King of Celestial Seeds did not stand at the top of the Celestial Seeds. There was still Chu Kuangren who could defy the heavens and kill the immortals. After leaving the Celestial Ascension Pond, Chu Kuangren did not stay in the Celestial Ancient Battlefield. Instead, he went to Heaven Luo City to rest for a few days. Heaven Luo City. Inside a restaurant, Chu Kuangren was sitting at the side, drinking wine. The surrounding customers looked at him with fear in their eyes. He had clearly offended the celestial capital and killed the Heaven Luo City Lord, yet he still dared to openly drink in Heaven Luo City. In this world, not many people had Chu Kuangren's guts. However, they had to admit that he had the strength and ability to do so. After all, among the current generation of celestial seeds in the Qing Lan immortal realm, Chu Kuangren was definitely the only one who could go against the heavens and kill an immortal. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a God-tier prize, the 7-string Zither Heart. Chu Kuangren, who was drawing the lottery, was stunned. The 7-string Zither Heart? He had obtained another God-tier prize. Although he had the lucky halo, the chances of obtaining a God-tier prize in a short period of time were still very small. He had obtained the Transcendent Lotus Seed a few days ago, and he thought that he would not get any more rewards in the near future. He did not expect to obtain another 7-string Zither Heart. What was the 7-string Zither Heart? Chu Kuangren opened his inventory and looked at the introduction. There were all kinds of physiques in this world, but there were also all kinds of innate abilities. For example, the Green Luan's Eye of Green Luan, the Moonlight Fox's Ignore Seals. The 7-string Zither Heart was also a kind of innate ability. It was related to the musical Tao. Cultivators with this kind of talent were blessed by the heavens in the way of the Zither. They could quickly learn all kinds of Zither songs and could easily become a Zither Grandmaster without much cultivation. Even becoming a Zither Immortal was a sure thing. It was the dream of all musical artists in the world. Although I don't specialize in musical Tao, having this kind of innate ability is better than not having it at all. Chu Kuangren murmured and then extracted the innate ability. He was already a musical Tao Grandmaster, and now with the addition of the 7-string Zither Heart, he felt that his understanding of musical Tao had increased to another level. A flash of realization flashed across his eyes. Then he slowly reached out his hand and fiddled with the void for a bit. At that moment, in the entire Heaven Luo City, The guqin in the hands of all the musical artists began to play automatically. Guqin music resounded throughout the city, shocking everyone. A musical artist looked at the guqin in front of him that was playing automatically and gulped. His face was full of shock. This is proving one's Tao with the guqin. Someone has proven his Tao with the guqin and has become a zither immortal. Other than the zither crown, the Azure Orchid Immortal Realm has another zither immortal. At that moment, the heavens and earth resonated. With Heaven Luo City as the center, a strong and mysterious zither, Tao, fluctuation spread out, hundreds of millions of miles away. In a mountain villa located by a lake, tens of thousands of guqin resonated, and waves of graceful guqin music flowed. In the mountain villa, countless musical artists looked at the guqin in their hands with a dull face, unable to believe what they saw in front of them. Ching, at that moment, the sound of guqin music rang out from the depths of the mountain villa. The guqin music spread out, and wherever the guqin music went, it gradually calmed down. It's the Manor Lord. I can't believe that in this Azure Orchid Immortal Realm, besides the Manor Lord, someone else has become a zither immortal. In the depths of the mountain villa, in a loft, a woman in a long white dress looked at the guqin in front of her and smiled. Someone has become a zither immortal after me. I'm not alone anymore. Just as the woman was rejoicing, a dusty guqin beside her suddenly made a sound and let out a guqin music. That scene made the woman's expression change drastically, and her beautiful eyes widened. The 9 Firmament Ring is playing. Chapter 974. Inside Heaven Luo City. Chu Kuangren put down his hands, and the guqin music in Heaven Luo City gradually stopped. All of this was because he had played in a void for a while, controlling thousands of zither and attaining the musical Tao origin. Chu Kuangren could now combine his Emperor's essence with a musical Tao origin. With his 7-string zither heart and his own talent, it would not take long for him to become a musical immortal. However, he did not do so. Musical Tao. It's not my Tao after all. Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled. In the restaurant, countless diners were discussing the sudden sound of the zither just now. Everyone felt that it was unimaginable. A musical immortal appeared in Heaven Luo City. That's unbelievable. I wonder which musical master managed to attain Tao. Apart from Qingguan, there's another musical immortal in this world. At this moment, Chu Kuangren, who was the center of everyone's discussion, only smiled. He looked into the distance and murmured, "When I attained Tao earlier, there was an inexplicable resonance. That seems like a divine zither. Interesting. Let's go take a look then." Chu Kuangren decided on his next move. Jingguan, Lan Yu, and Little Fox came out of the room and came before Chu Kuangren. Little Fox said excitedly, Boss, did you see that just now? Someone in Heaven Luo City has become an immortal." Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. "Yes, I saw it. I wonder who it is. How could he be so powerful?" The little fox continued to blabber on. Beside him, Jingguan stared at Chu Kuangren with a bewildered look in his eyes. He could sense a surge of origin fluctuations from Chu Kuangren's body that only an immortal would have. He had sensed that same fluctuation from Qingguan's body before. When he thought about the phenomenon just now, he suddenly had a bold guess. He looked at Chu Kuangren and said, "Master, did you trigger that phenomenon just now? Have you become an immortal?" Little Fox and Lan Yu were stunned when they heard this. Chu Kuangren had become an immortal? That fluctuation just now was indeed caused by me, but I have yet to become an immortal. Musical Tao is not the Tao I want to walk, Chu Kuangren said calmly. His little fox sucked in a breath of cold air. "B-Boss, you mean to say that you can become an immortal, but you don't want to, right?" Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. The time has not come yet. The little fox and Sword Crown were stunned. This was the first time they had seen such a person. He could have become an immortal, but he did not, just because the time was not right. That was an immortal. Countless cultivators spent their entire lives cultivating to become immortals. However, Why was Chu Kuangren not moved at all? Was he still a cultivator? What is young master's Tao? Jianguan asked curiously. I am my Tao, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The path of self-improvement and invincibility. He himself was the Tao. This was his latest realization, but Jianguan was a little confused. He was the Tao. What kind of Tao was this? Unheard of. Jianguan shook his head and asked no more. If he continued asking, it would touch upon the very foundation of a cultivator. Come on, it's time to leave, Chu Kuangren said. Then, they left Heaven Luo City. On the way, Chu Kuangren had almost finished studying Lan Yu's Radiant Combat Immortal Physique and mastered the Radiant Combat Origin Force. In addition to the Guqin Dao Origin Force, he had gained 2 more Origin Forces. However, that was not his biggest gain. Through studying the Radiant Combat Immortal Physique, he had grasped some of the rules of how a Daoist physique evolved into an immortal physique, and his understanding of the Book of Physiques had improved greatly. The Book of Physiques had given Chu Kuangren 2 abilities. The first was to analyze physiques and use other people's physiques for his own use. The second was to use his own physiques perfectly. However, through his own understanding, Chu Kuangren had gradually grasped the third function of the Book of Physiques, which was to upgrade one's physique. However, this kind of upgrade could not be done overnight. It needed to be done slowly. Chu Kuangren first chose the exquisite 9 Orifices Sword Heart as a test subject to see if he could upgrade it to an immortal physique. As for the immortal physique, it was already very mysterious. To upgrade it, Chu Kuangren's understanding of the Book of Physiques was not enough. Master, where are we going? Jingguan asked along the way. He did not know why, but he felt that the path Chu Kuangren was taking was somewhat familiar. Some time ago, when I was using the Guqin Dao, I felt something resonating with me in that direction. I want to go and take a look. Chu Kuangren looked into the distance and said. Jingguan also looked in that direction thoughtfully. That direction, isn't that the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor? The 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor? That's where Guqin Guan lives. Chu Kuangren said in surprise. Yes, I heard that there's an ancient immortal Guqin in the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor. It's called the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei, and it's also the origin of the manor's name. However, no one can play that Guqin. Not even Guqin Guan himself. Could it be that the thing that resonated with you is this thing, Master? Jingguan said in surprise. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. A Guqin that even the Zither deity can't play? That's interesting. It was indeed an immortal Guqin that resonated with him. If he was not mistaken, it was most likely the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei. As the group gradually approached the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor, they gradually heard a lot of news about this place. Have you guys heard? Recently, Guqin Guan is holding a 9 Firmaments banquet to find a new owner for the legendary 9 Firmaments Huan Pei. What? Guqin Guan is willing to give this Guqin away. Many years ago, this 9 Firmaments banquet was held once, but no one could play that immortal Guqin. Over time, this immortal Guqin has been kept in the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor. TSK. I don't know why, but this Guqin Guan is holding a 9 Firmaments banquet again. This time, it's attracted many people, even those who don't practice Guqin Dao. After all, it's an immortal weapon. All kinds of discussions entered Chu Kuangren's ears. This made him look forward to this trip to the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor even more. Speaking of which, I still have a token from the Guqin Guan's daughter, Xue Qinxin. A jade pendant appeared in Chu Kuangren's hand. All right, since we're already here, let's pay her a visit. Not long after, he, Lan Yu, and a few others arrived at the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor. The manor was huge, and there were many pavilions. The manor was also divided into 2 areas. One was used to receive guests, and the other was the core area where the manor lord and his disciples resided. Dear guests, I'm really sorry, but the guest rooms in this manor are fully occupied. Please look for another place. At the entrance of the 9 Firmaments Huan Pei Manor, a disciple was apologizing to the few young celestial seeds. What? We came all the way here, and yet we don't even have a place to stay? Is this how the nine firmaments, Huan, pay manor treats its guests? I'm sorry. The disciple in the manor smiled apologetically. Due to the nine firmaments banquet, too many cultivators had come, and the guest rooms in the manor were fully occupied. Let's go. The few young celestial seeds said unhappily and wanted to leave. However, Chu Kuangren and the others happened to pass by them. Hello, we're here to visit your manor, Chu Kuangren said. Chapter 975. Hello, we're here to visit your manor. Chu Kuangren's words were heard by the few young, celestial seeds who were about to leave. They all turned to look at him, but since his face was covered by a layer of spiritual light, they could not see his face clearly. However, that did not stop them from enjoying the show. If we don't stand a chance, then it's even worse for him. Brother, let's just find Nin. The few of them did not seem to have any ill intentions as they said that. The manor disciple smiled helplessly and said, My apologies, brother, but our manor is fully booked. Chu Kuangren took out the jade pendant that Xue Qinxin gave him and said, Brother, we're Lady Xue's friends. The manor disciple was stunned when he saw the jade pendant. He took it and studied it carefully, and his expression changed slightly. This jade pendant is indeed Lady Xue's personal jade pendant. Please follow me in, the manor disciple said. The few young celestial seeds were stunned. I didn't expect them to be friends of the Guqin Crown's daughter. Tisk, it's good to have a background. The few celestial seeds shook their heads helplessly and left. Meanwhile, in the Nine Firmament Ring Manor, in a garden, Xue Qinxin was having a gathering with a few young men. However, she did not seem to be interested, as if she was daydreaming. Beside her, a few young men were chatting in high spirits, pointing at the world. In my opinion, other than the 12 celestial seed rulers, Brother Yuanshu and Brother Qinfeng are on par with each other. That's right. Brother Yuanshu is a prince of the great Yuan god dynasty, and Brother Qinfeng is the disciple of the Guqin crown. Below the celestial seed rulers, the two of them are the most respected among the celestial seed rulers. In fact, both of them even have the demeanor of a ruler. Among these people, two stood out the most. Of these two, one had a noble aura, and it was obvious that he was a person of high status. The other had a graceful and elegant demeanor. The surrounding celestial seeds were all flattering them. You flatter me, you flatter me. That's right. There's always someone better than you out there. We need to improve ourselves even more. Don't be spoiled and complacent. Although they said that, the two of them raised their eyebrows. It was obvious that they were enjoying the flattery. You two are too humble. So humble. We should learn from the two of you. Xue Qinxin yawned and casually said, No matter how powerful you two are, how would you compare to Chu Kuangren? As soon as he said that, everyone's faces stiffened. Chu Kuangren, of course, they had heard of this name that had recently risen in fame. Even they couldn't help but be amazed by it. Consecutively killing immortal seed kings? Defying the heavens and slaying immortals? Could an immortal seed really do that? Perhaps Chu Kuangren's abilities are just a rumor. It doesn't really matter. One of the immortal seeds let out a hollow laugh and said, Oh, false rumors. Could it be that everyone in the world is an idiot? Was the immortal slaying incident all fake? Xue Qinxin said lightly. Hearing this, the crowd was embarrassed. If Xue Qinxin was not the daughter of the Guqin crown, they would have driven her away. Why, junior sister Xue, you seem to admire Chu Kuangren so much. Do you know him? Qinfeng said with a smile, but his brows furrowed slightly. Although he looked like a gentleman to others, he was not as magnanimous as he looked on the surface. He was the disciple of the Guqin crown, and he had been coveting the daughter of the Guqin crown, Xue Qinxin, for a long time. Other than her looks, it was more because of her identity as the daughter of the Guqin crown. If he were to marry her, it was almost certain that he would inherit the 9 firmament ring ornament manor in the future. No, I was just saying, Xue Qinxin said. After all, the last time she ran away from home, her mother was already very unhappy about it. If she knew that she almost lost her life outside, she would probably not be able to step out of the manor ever again. Therefore, after she returned, she did not mention a word about the incident, and the people in the manor naturally did not know that she knew Chu Kuangren. Miss Qin Xin, you must know that the people of this world are ignorant, and some things cannot be trusted. My brother is one of the 12 celestial seed rulers, so I am very familiar with the abilities of a celestial seed ruler. They are almost invincible under the immortal realm, let alone killing celestial kings. Yuan Su said calmly. Just like Qin Feng, he had feelings for Xue Qinxin. If he could become Dao companions with Xue Qinxin with the help of the Zither crown, even if he couldn't ascend to the throne in the future, his status in the godly dynasty would be greatly improved, and he wouldn't become a sacrifice in the battle for the throne. Even if he did, he must have used some underhanded methods. Yuan Su thought for a while, and then added. Hearing this, Xue Qinxin immediately felt uncomfortable. No matter what, he is not someone you can compare to. Miss Qinxin, Yuan Su's face darkened slightly, as if he was about to lose his temper, but he had to be careful about her identity. At that moment, a disciple in a mountain manor found Xue Qinxin with a jade pendant in his hand. Junior sister Xue, your friend is here. Friend? Xue Qinxin could not help but be stunned. Then, when she saw the jade pendant in the disciple's hand, her eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, Where is he now? I've arranged for them to wait in the inner hall. Xue Qinxin immediately left Yuan Su, Qin Feng, and the others behind. The few of them looked at each other when they saw that. What kind of friend is so important to you, junior sister? Qin Feng frowned and said, It's a man. The disciple answered honestly. Qin Feng and Yuan Su's eyes flashed coldly when they heard that. Oh, now that you mention it, I'm a little interested. I want to see what kind of friend he is. Let's go and have a look together. Although Qin Feng and Yuan Su were rivals in love, they would not allow others to fight for Xue Qinxin with them. When two tigers were fighting, how could they allow others to interfere? 9 Firmament Huan Pei Manor, Inner Hall. Chu Kuangren was sipping his tea when a beautiful figure arrived. It was Xue Qinxin. Brother Chu, you're here. Greetings, Miss Xue. Chu Kuangren smiled. I heard that the 9 Firmament Huan Pei Manor is holding a 9 Heavens banquet, so I came here to watch. I remembered Miss Xue's invitation, so I decided to pay you a visit. I apologize for not informing you beforehand. Brother Chu, you're too kind. Xue Qinxin looked at Chu Kuangren with excitement in her eyes. Ever since he saved her last time, his figure had been lingering in her mind for some reason, and she couldn't get it out of her head. Now that Chu Kuangren had appeared at the 9 Firmament Huan Pei Manor, she was extremely excited. She felt like she had a lot to say to him, but she did not know where to start, so she hesitated. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Miss Xue, may I know where Senior Gu Qingguan is now? I have a friend here who would like to meet her. The friend he was referring to was naturally Gu Qingguan. My honorable teacher is currently in closed-door meditation. She'll only come out when the 9 Heavens banquet begins. Even if she's not in closed-door meditation, it's difficult for disciples like us to meet her, let alone others. At that moment, a voice was heard. Qin Feng, Yuan Su, and a few other mortal seeds walked in. The person who spoke was Qin Feng, and his meaning was clear. Not everyone could see the Zither crown just because they wanted to. Chapter 976. You must be my junior sister's friend. My name is Qin Feng. Before my honorable teacher comes out of his closed-door meditation, I'm in charge of everything in the village. Qin Feng smiled faintly. He looked at Chu Kuangren and continued. May I know how you met my junior sister? This person was hostile towards him. Chu Kuangren noticed Qin Feng's strange behavior and smirked. Before he could say anything, Xue Qinxin, who was beside him, could not help but say, Senior brother, I don't think I need to tell you about Brother Chu. This is between me and Brother Chu. If she told Qin Feng that she was in danger, it would be the same as telling her mother about it. If that happened, she would definitely be reprimanded. Junior sister, you're still young and inexperienced. Humans can be sinister, so you have to be careful. I'm doing this for your own good. Qin Feng said. His words were just short of calling Chu Kuangren a bad person. Xue Qin was furious. Senior brother, what do you mean? I'm not a child anymore. You don't have to worry about me. Miss Qin, you should listen to your senior brother. Humans can be sinister, and this person is so secretive that he doesn't even want to show his face. There must be something fishy going on. Yuan Su sneered. Then, his figure flashed as he tried to grab the spiritual aura on Chu Kuangren's face. How dare you? Before Yuan Su could get close, Lan Yu, who was behind Chu Kuangren, had already attacked with a punch. Now that Lan Yu had obtained the inheritance of the winged human immortal, her cultivation level had already reached the level of a heavenly master. Coupled with her radiant combat immortal physique, she was no weaker than a celestial seed ruler. Yuan Su was only a celestial seed ruler. When the fist and palm collided, the void trembled and Yuan Su was forced back a few dozen feet. The surging palm chi also dispersed the spiritual aura on Lan Yu's face, revealing a cold, beautiful face. Everyone was stunned when they saw it. Xue Qin's eyes were filled with amazement, but she was also a little jealous. So Brother Chu has such a beautiful companion by his side. Yuan Su, who was sent flying by the punch, looked at Lan Yu in bewilderment. Although he was stunned by her beauty, he was even more shocked by her strength. After all, he was a celestial sea giant. Moreover, he was definitely at the very top among celestial sea giants. It wouldn't be wrong to say that he was only second to celestial seed kings. Despite that, Lan Yu still managed to push him back with a single move. Immortal seed giant? Could it be a king of immortal seeds? Realizing that the other party's strength was not to be underestimated, Yuan Su did not dare to offend him. He stood where he was and stopped attacking. On the other hand, Qin Feng was also shocked as he looked at Chu Kuangren solemnly. I still don't know your name, sir. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Is it a trend for you guys to attack first before asking for the other person's name? The mockery in his words was very obvious. As he spoke, the light on his face dissipated and a handsome face appeared, causing everyone to be dazed. He looked at Xue Qin and said, Lady Xue, I don't have much of a reputation, so I've been covering my face with spirit light. I forgot to remove the spirit light when I came to see you. I'm sorry. Xue Qin quickly shook her head. It's all right. In the crowd, one of the celestial seeds stared at Chu Kuangren as his pupils gradually trembled. He said, He's Chu Kuangren. Someone recognized Chu Kuangren. In an instant, the crowd was in an uproar. After all, Chu Kuangren's reputation in the immortal realm was like the sun in the sky. No one could compare to him. To most cultivators, and even the celestial seeds, a person like Chu Kuangren was like an unreachable god. Yet now, this god had appeared in front of them. Chu Kuangren, it's you. Yuan Su was also extremely shocked. Although he was belittling Chu Kuangren earlier, a person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Chu Kuangren's high reputation was enough to prove that his strength was extraordinary. Yuan Su actually wanted to attack such a person just now? Oh God, did he have a death wish just now? That's me. Do you have any doubts, sir? Chu Kuangren glanced at Yuan Su. Just one glance was enough to make Yuan Su shiver as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Horrifying, Yuan Su's body trembled, and he could not help but feel his legs turn into jelly. He then collapsed onto the ground with cold sweat on his forehead. He was so scared that he went limp. That scene shocked the other celestial seeds. F***CK That was just too horrifying. Just one glance was enough to scare a celestial seed overlord into such a state. They were on two completely different levels. Gulp. Qin Feng could not help but gulp as he said in shock, so it's Brother Chu. My apologies. He did not dare to show any hostility anymore. The person in front of him was a heaven-defying and immortal-slaying lord. He had offended the sacred city, the divine flame church, the Golden Hill Temple, and even the Wutong Mountain, the divine beast tribe. His actions were so crazy that it was unbelievable. Although the Nine Firmament Huan Manor had Gu Qingguan as their leader, they were not as powerful as the few forces above them in terms of resources. In other words, if he dared to say anything that he should not, the other party might just kill him if he was unhappy. He had already offended a bunch of immortal-grade orthodoxies, so what if he offended the Nine Firmament Huan Manor? At that thought, he could not help but feel his legs turn to jelly. Just like Yuan Su, he almost fell to the ground. Brother Chu, let's ignore them. Since you've just arrived at the Nine Firmament Huan Manor, let me show you around. Xue Qinxin said. Chu Kuang'er nodded. Then I'll have to trouble you. After Chu Kuang'er and the others left, Qin Feng, Yuan Su, and the others were still stunned on the spot for a long time. I can't believe it's someone like him. Yeah, I can't believe the heaven-defying and immortal-slaying Chu Kuang'er would appear at the Nine Firmament Huan Manor. Do you guys think he's here to participate in the Nine Firmament Banquet too? If that's the case, then this Nine Firmament Banquet is going to be interesting. TSK. No wonder Lady Xue was so excited. It turns out that her friend is someone like Chu Kuang'er. It's not that rare for her to fall in love with someone like him. Even I want to ride on someone like him. The few celestial seeds discussed among themselves. Meanwhile, Yuan Su, who was paralyzed on the ground, had already stood up. His face was a little gloomy. As a celestial seed leader of the great primordial god dynasty, how could he be so scared? However, when he thought of Chu Kuang'er's gaze just now, he felt a chill down his spine. That person was too terrifying. I'm afraid even Big Brother is no match for this person. Rumor has it that this person has even killed celestial seed kings. I guess it's true. Yuan Su thought helplessly. If it were someone else, he might have thought of fighting. However, against Chu Kuang'er, he did not even dare to think about it. Qin Feng, we've lost. Yuan Su took a deep breath and said, it was not worth it to go against Chu Kuang'er just for Xue Qinxin. No, I haven't lost yet. As long as I'm recognized by the celestial zither during the Nine Firmament Banquet, my honorable teacher will definitely betroth junior sister to me. This Nine Firmament Huan Manor will still be mine. Qin Feng's eyes were filled with determination. Chapter 977. Under Xue Qinxin's arrangement, Chu Kuang'er temporarily stayed in the Nine Firmament Ring Ornament Manor. With Xue Qinxin's status as the Guqin Crown's daughter, it was a piece of cake for her to arrange a few more guest rooms for them. Jiushao Huan Pei Manor, in a guest room. Chu Kuang'er sat cross-legged as he tried to derive his exquisite 9 orifices sword heart. He wanted to upgrade his Taoist physique to the immortal physique level, and this process was almost over. Buzz, Chu Kuang'er's body suddenly emitted an incomparably mysterious wave that spread in all directions. Beside him, the Kuan Wu sword was the first to sense this fluctuation. It couldn't help but tremble slightly and let out a crisp sword cry. Outside the house, Jingguan also fiercely opened his eyes. The green lotus immortal sword in his body trembled and had an impulse to fly out of his body. This feeling, is it the Sword Dao immortal physique? Someone has awakened an immortal body related to Sword Dao. Who is it? This direction is Sword Crown sensed the source of the fluctuation of the immortal body, and his expression suddenly became a little strange. It's young master. He realized that he could not see through Chu Kuang'er anymore. Previously, he had used the zither to prove his Dao. Now, there was a Sword Dao immortal physique. What was going on? When I'm with the young master, there are always surprises. Jianguan shook his head and smiled. In the outside world, the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart's upgrade to an immortal body emitted a mysterious wave that enveloped the entire 9 heavens Huan Pei Manor. Inside the mountain village, the sword cultivators who had come to attend the feast of the 9th heaven sensed something. Their faces fell, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Someone awakened the Sword Dao immortal physique. What kind of immortal physique is this? The mystic sword physique? Supreme sword bone? Or the indestructible sword immortal body? But these fluctuations don't seem like it. Within the mountain manor, The swords within every sword cultivator's body flew out uncontrollably towards Chu Kuangren's direction. After a while, in the sky above Chu Kuangren's room, countless long swords hovered in the air. Sword chi from the heavens and earth converged, as if they were welcoming the honorable 10,000 swords. This scene shocked countless sword cultivators. Not only Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor. Instead, with Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor as the center, all the swords within billions of miles sensed it and let out sword cries. It was as if they were paying respect to the birth of the King of Swords. The mighty figures of the Qinglan immortal world were also shocked by this strange phenomenon. This aura, a Sword Dao immortal physique, has been born. Moreover, it's not an ordinary immortal physique. I'm afraid it's a high-level Sword Dao immortal physique. 5th grade immortal physique, common, profound, king sovereign. To be able to cause such a phenomenon, it must be a king-grade immortal physique. In the entire history of the Qinglan immortal world, there have only been a few king-grade immortal physiques. That direction is the Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor. Strange, isn't that where a group of Zither players stay? The mighty figures of the Qinglan immortal world were amazed. Among them, some tried to deduce the identity of the person who awakened the king-grade immortal physique. But no matter how these people tried to deduce it, they couldn't find anything. Some people refused to believe it and forcefully tried to deduce it. But in the end, they all suffered a backlash. It cannot be divined. Taboo. In one of the pavilions, a white-bearded old man looked in the direction of Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor with a pale face. How can there be such an anomaly? The past, the future, and even the present are all nothingness. Even the destined one in the prophecy doesn't have such a fate. Who is this person who awakened the immortal physique? Reincarnation of a mighty figure? Cosmic taboo? Innate deity? Countless thoughts flashed through the white-bearded old man's mind. In the end, he knew that this person was the biggest taboo in this world. Meanwhile, in Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor, Chu Kuangren, who had upgraded the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart to an immortal physique, smiled in satisfaction. He had also sensed the swords that flew in due to the fluctuations of the immortal physique. How eye-catching. Chu Kuangren curled his lips. He waved his sleeves. In an instant, the long swords flew out one after another. The sword cultivators who had been watching hurriedly rushed up and grabbed their swords one by one. Then, they looked at the house where Chu Kuangren was in shock. What kind of people are inside? The person who awakened the immortal physique must be in there. But who is this person? Is there such a person in Jiao Shao Huan Pei Manor? Some cultivators could not hold back their curiosity. In a flash, they flew towards the house, wanting to find out what was going on. However, before he could get close, a surge of majestic emperor's chi swept out like a raging wave and blasted him away. Back off! A cold voice rang out. Suddenly, a huge, domineering aura pressed down on everyone's chests, making it hard for them to breathe. Not daring to delay, everyone quickly left. Meanwhile, in the distance, a young man in a golden robe looked at where Chu Kuangren was with a strange look in his golden eyes. I can't believe someone among the humans has awakened the Sword Dao immortal physique. What a surprise. It's not just the immortal physique. This person's strength is extraordinary as well. Even if he's not an immortal, he's at least a top-notch half-immortal. Beside the young man, a golden-haired old man said, "A top-notch half-immortal? Heh, there's nothing to fear." The young man shook his head. No matter what, we must get our hands on that Jiao Shao Huan Pei. No matter what tricks this Guqin crown has up its sleeves, this will never change. Inside the room, Chu Kuangren took some time to adapt to the new abilities of the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart. This immortal physique could increase the power of his sword techniques, and it could also help him understand the Sword Dao origin energy. It was somewhat useful to him. However, it was just a little. Chu Kuangren's current strength could no longer be greatly improved by just one or two immortal physiques. The Book of Physiques allows one to master many types of physiques, but too many physiques will only make things messy. Looks like I'll have to think of a way to solve this problem. Chu Kuangren murmured. Analyzing physiques, mastering them, and upgrading them. Can I combine all of them together? Combine thousands of physiques and transform them into one. The more Chu Kuangren thought about it, the more he felt that this was the next direction for his research on the Book of Physiques. However, he only had one idea for now. He had not found a breakthrough yet, so this matter could not be rushed. I'll first upgrade the rest of the physiques to immortal physiques. Once they're upgraded, they'll help me master more origin energy. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. He set his goal on the chaotic physique. This was the #1 physique among the firmament stars, 3,000 physiques, and it was also his next goal to upgrade to an immortal physique. If there were no accidents, it would not be long before he could master the chaotic origin energy. Just as Chu Kuangren was upgrading his chaotic physique, the Nine Heavens banquet began as scheduled. Countless musicians gathered in the hall. Other than the musicians, there were also many powerful cultivators. They did not cultivate musical Dao, but they were still attracted by the Jiu Shao Huan Pei. One could see how tempting this immortal weapon was. Not to mention, the Jiu Shao Huan Pei was not an ordinary immortal weapon. Guqin Crown once said that the Jiu Shao Huan Pei was very likely to be a heavenly immortal weapon. In the Green Orchid immortal realm, earthly immortal weapons were rare, let alone heavenly immortal weapons. This was something that even immortals would be extremely tempted by. Chapter 978. The Nine Firmament Huan Pei is famous, but I've never had the chance to see it. Today, I finally have the chance to see it. Not bad. I wonder what this legendary celestial Guqin looks like. I'm really looking forward to it. On an empty training ground in the Nine Firmament Huan Pei Manor, musicians and cultivators gathered to witness the legendary celestial weapon. The Nine Firmament Huan Pei shall be mine. At that moment, an indifferent voice was heard. A middle-aged man in a white robe walked over with a Guqin on his back. His aura flowed with rich origin energy. Although he was not an immortal, he was not far from it. This person was already a top-notch half-immortal on the path of immortal ascension. The crowd gasped when they saw him. It's him, musician Tian Yu. Rumor has it that this person has survived the 9 calamities, the fire calamity. His strength is second only to an immortal. Other than the Guqin crown, this person is also one of the best in Guqin Dao. He really came to this 9 firmament banquet. The crowd looked at the middle-aged man in white in surprise. At that moment, a celestial light flowed not far away, accompanied by a shocking sword intent. A man in a green robe slowly walked over. Some people's eyes narrowed when they saw this person. It's him, one of the Green Orchid dual swords, Dugiyu of the Spirit Emperor Mountain, one of the 12 celestial seed kings. I can't believe even a celestial seed king would show up. The Green Orchid dual swords were the 2 most outstanding sword Dao celestial seeds among the younger generation of the Green Orchid immortal realm. Dugiyu of the Spirit Emperor Mountain and Yi Feichen of the Dragonsong Sword Sect were both among the 12 celestial seed kings. Dugiyu swept his gaze across the crowd and said, "A few days ago, someone here awakened the Sword Dao celestial physique. I wonder who it was." Hearing this, everyone came to a sudden realization. So it was because of the Sword Dao celestial physique. Dugiyu was a sword cultivator, so it made sense that he would be attracted here. However, Chu Kuangren had been living in seclusion for the past few days, so no one knew that he had awakened the Sword Dao celestial physique. After asking a series of questions to no avail, Dugiyu retreated to the side and did not say anything else. Apart from searching for the Sword Dao immortal body, he also wanted to see this so-called immortal Zither 9 Heavens ring pendant. The Heavenly Moon Zither Master and Dugiyu showed up one after another, adding to the excitement of the Feast of the 9 Firmaments. Then, Other famous zither masters and cultivators arrived one after another. It's the prince of the great Yuan god dynasty, Yuan Su. He's one of the top immortal seeds. It's Fairy Qinghua. She's here too. She and Qin Feng, the disciple of the Zither Crown, are known as the dragons and phoenixes of the younger generation. There's also Shang Chanwan. She's also Qin Guan's disciple. It's said that her Tao of the Zither is unconventional, and she's known as the demonic Zither. Qin Guan doesn't like her, and she spends most of her time outside. Now she's back. In a loft not far away, Chu Kuangren could not help but yawn as he watched the young immortal seeds and musical Taoists appear one after another. When is this Jiao Shao Huan Pei coming out? He came here for Jiao Shao Huan Pei. As for the others, he didn't care at all. Mother will come out of seclusion today. At that time, fellow Chu will be able to see Jiao Shao Huan Pei. But fellow Chu, do you also know how to play the zither? Xue Qin asked curiously. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. I know a thing or two. Upon hearing his words, Sword Crown and Little Fox were shocked. One could not help but roll her eyes, while the other's mouth twitched. Know a thing or two. You've already proven your Tao with the zither, yet you only know a thing or two. Xue Qin did not think too much about it. She really thought that Chu Kuangren only knew a thing or two. After all, who would have thought that a sword Tao immortal physique and a celestial seed with exceptional sword techniques could also prove his Tao with the zither? That's impossible, right? Roar. Just as Chu Kuangren was waiting for the Jiao Shao Huan Pei to appear, a dragon's roar suddenly came from the sky. The sea of clouds rumbled as a golden dragon's silhouette soared through the clouds. Its terrifying, domineering aura shocked everyone present. Chu Kuangren could not help but be attracted. Dragon Tribe. The golden divine dragon then transformed into a handsome man in a golden robe, attracting everyone's attention. The dragon tribe of the divine dragon island is here too. F***CKme, even a divine beast is here. The true dragon has 5 attributes. This dragon's entire body is golden, so it must be made of metal. TSK. I've never heard of anyone on the Dragon Island who's an expert in musical Tao. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They stare at the golden divine dragon in shock. I'm Jean E. of the Dragon Island, and I'm here to claim the Jiao Shao Huan Pei. Jean, he said. The crowd frowned. From what he said, it seemed like he was determined to get the Jiao Shao Huan Pei. If they fought with him, would it mean that they would become enemies with the Dragon Island? At that thought, most of the people had already given up. The Dragon Island was definitely the most powerful force in the Green Orchid Immortal realm, and it originated from the Immortal Ancient Era. Compared to them, even immortal orthodoxies like the Divine Flame Church and Celestial Capital were slightly inferior. Going against them without a powerful background was simply asking for death. The Jiao Shao Huan Pei belongs to the most capable. If the true dragon is recognized by the Jiao Shao Huan Pei, it will naturally belong to you. A cold voice was heard. Then, a light purple guqin that was emanating an immortal glow descended from the sky and landed in front of the crowd. Its majestic aura swept across the area, causing many of the guqin artists and cultivators to be pushed back a few meters. A silhouette dashed out from the depths of the manor and arrived before the guqin. The newcomer was wearing a long white dress, simple and elegant. Even without any makeup, she was already as beautiful as a fairy, stunning everyone. This person was Qin Guan. The guqin before her was the reason why everyone was here. It was rumored that no one could play the ancient divine guqin. Jiao Shao Huan Pei. This is the Jiao Shao Huan Pei. It sure lives up to its name. What a dazzling divine guqin. Everyone looked at the Jiao Shao Huan Pei with heated gazes. Jin Yi's eyes were even brighter. With the wutong as the face and the purple robe as the base, it really is the legendary divine guqin, Jiao Shao Huan Pei. Longzi, you have a good eye. However, to play this guqin, it depends on your ability. Qin Guan said softly. With a wave of her sleeve, a stone table appeared, and the Jiu Shao Huan Pei was placed on the stone table. Then, lines of seals were spread out in the void, intersecting with each other like the strings of a guqin. Everyone, the Jiu Shao Huan Pei is here. The Nine Heavens banquet has begun, but no one is allowed to touch this divine guqin. Those who wish to play the Jiu Shao Huan Pei will have to pass through my seals first, Qin Guan said before retreating to the side. Not far away, Xue Qinxin walked up. Mother, you're finally out. Yes. Qin Guan smiled and nodded. Then, she looked at Chu Kuangren and the others who were walking behind her, and her eyes narrowed. Especially when she saw Qin Guan, she took a deep breath and said, Leave Juexin, you're finally back. Ha, old friend, long time no see. Jian Guan smiled faintly. Qin Guan then looked at Chu Kuangren, and her eyes lit up. If I'm not mistaken, this handsome young man here is Chu Kuangren. Greetings, Qin Guan. Chu Kuangren bowed. Qin Guan, you really followed him. Yes. Qin Guan nodded. Qin Guan looked at Chu Kuangren carefully. To have Qin Guan as your follower, you must have something special about you. I've been in closed-door meditation for the past few days, so I didn't have the chance to entertain you well. Qin Guan, you're too kind. We're very grateful for Lady Xue's hospitality for the past few days. Chu Kuangren smiled. The few of them exchanged some pleasantries. Then they set their sights on the Nine Heavens banquet. Chapter 979. Jiuxiao Banquet. Due to the restrictions set up by the Zither Crown, many Zither masters and cultivators were isolated and unable to get close. Only a few had the ability to break the restrictions and try to play Jiuxiao Huan Pei. Among them, Tian Yu's movements were the fastest. In a flash, the origin of Zither surged around him and rushed into the restrictions. The restrictions couldn't stop him at all. Soon, he was in front of Jiuxiao Huan Pei. This Zither is mine. He was overjoyed and reached for the Zither. His fingers plucked the strings. But the next second, his expression changed. The Zither didn't move and didn't make a sound. I don't believe it. How can there be a Zither that doesn't play? I must not have used enough strength. Tian Yu's expression darkened. He channeled his origin energy into Jiuxiao Huan Pei in an attempt to play it. But it was useless. No matter how much origin energy he channeled, Jiuxiao Huan Pei still didn't move. How can this be? I am a top half immortal, and my origin energy is second only to the Zither immortal. How can there be a Zither in this world that I can't play? This is impossible. Tian Yu's Zither master said, with an uncertain expression. Just then, a shocking sword intent exploded and tore open the restrictions. Dugiyu, the king of holy seeds from Spirit King Mountain, arrived before Jiuxiao Huan Pei. He didn't know much about Zither, but he wanted to try and see if he could play Jiuxiao Huan Pei. If he succeeded, he would have made a fortune. He stepped forward expectantly and plucked the strings. But it was useless. Jiuxiao Huan Pei still didn't move. I knew it. Dugiyu shook his head and sighed. He ignored it and stepped aside. The rest of the famous Zither masters broke through the restriction and came before Jiuxiao Huan Pei, but none of them could play the celestial Zither. This Zither is different. Normal methods can't play it, but it might work if I use my own understanding of the Zither. Qin Feng said. He placed his hand on Jiuxiao Huan Pei and began to feel the mysterious power of the Zither. Everyone else's eyes lit up when they saw this. Not bad. Let's try with our understanding of the Zither. Maybe it really works. Everyone activated their own Guqin Wei source power, which contained their comprehension of the Guqin Wei in an attempt to activate Jiuxiao Huan Pei. However, no matter what they did, there was no effect at all. Jiuxiao Huan Pei was not moved at all. Not far away. Qin Guan couldn't help but shake his head. If it's so easy to play Jiuxiao Huan Pei, then it's too easy. She scanned the crowd with anticipation, but after a while, she looked away in disappointment. Xue Qinxin asked curiously, Mother, what's wrong? Not long ago, someone in the Qinglan immortal world became a Zither immortal. That person's Zither Dao caused Jiuxiao Huan Pei to resonate with him. This is also one of the reasons why I'm holding this banquet. I hope to attract that zither immortal here. That person might be the owner of Jiu Xiao Huan Pei. Unfortunately, that person isn't here. Qin Guan shook his head and said. Upon hearing that, the little fox and sword crown could not help but look at Chu Kuangren. Others may not know, but how could they not know? The zither immortal who resonated with Jiu Xiao Huan Pei was standing in front of them. However, Chu Kuangren did not make any moves, so they did not say anything. Sword Crown glanced at Qin Guan and found it funny. Oh, my good friend, no matter how hard you think, you'll never know that the zither immortal you speak of is right in front of you. He did not say it out loud. He wanted to see what kind of expression Qin Guan would have when he found out about this. At the Nine Heavens banquet, one by one, the zither masters and cultivators tried to play Jiu Xiao Huan Pei, but none of them succeeded. At that moment, a dragon roar was heard. Jin Yi from the Godly Dragon Island came before Jiu Xiao Huan Pei and reached out to grab the strings. His origin energy surged violently, trying to play it by force. However, he was sent flying by a huge backlash. This divine zither really lives up to its name. However, this is the only way it's valuable. This zither is good enough as a betrothal gift. Jin Yi laughed. The crowd was shocked when they heard that. Betrothal gift? What betrothal gift? However, before they could think too much, Jin Yi reached out to grab Jiu Xiao Huan Pei. He wanted to take it by force. The rest of the people's expressions changed. How dare you? Dragon Son, how can you do this? The crowd tried to stop Jin Yi from fighting for Jiu Xiao Huan Pei. However, Jin Yi's gaze froze, and he said coldly, This Jiu Xiao Huan Pei, regardless of whether I can play it or not, I want it. Do you want to go against the Godly Dragon Island? As soon as he said that, everyone was speechless. Go against the Godly Dragon Island? Unless they were tired of living. However, Jiu Xiao Huan Pei was an extremely rare celestial artifact. They were reluctant to give it up just like that. Forget it. I can't play Jiu Xiao Huan Pei anyway. There's no need to go against the Godly Dragon Island for a useless celestial artifact. That's right. Just let it go. Some of the zither players sighed and could not help but stop. Even Qin Feng, the eldest disciple of Jiu Xiao Huan Pei Manor, took a few steps back when he felt Jin Yi's powerful aura. Although he was unwilling, he really did not have the courage to go against Jin Yi. Putting aside the forces behind Jin Yi, Jin Yi's cultivation is comparable to a celestial seed king. He is not someone he can fight. There was only one woman left standing in front of Jin Yi. It was a woman in a black dress and holding a black zither. This zither belongs to Jiu Xiao Huan Pei Manor. Without the approval of the zither master or the manor master, no one else is allowed to take it. The woman said indifferently. She was another disciple of the zither crown, Shang Chanwan. Rumor had it that Shang Chanwan was not favored by the zither crown because of her unconventional zither Dao. However, ironically, only she dared to stand out and protect the reputation of Jiu Xiao Huan Pei Manor. Oh, you want to stop me? Do you have what it takes? Jin Yi sneered. As he raised his hand, violent dragon energy waves erupted, turning into a golden torrent that blasted out. Facing such a powerful attack, Shang Chanwan did not dare to be careless. She kept playing the black zither in her hand. Chaotic music burst out like demons dancing. Guqin waves blasted towards the golden torrent. However, the golden torrent broke through the Guqin waves and blasted towards Shang Chanwan. Shang Chanwan was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Jin Yi raised his hand, and a powerful dragon chi burst out again. It turned into a giant dragon claw and grabbed at Shang Chanwan. Oh no! Shang Chanwan's expression changed. Just as she was about to be killed, a melodious music suddenly sounded behind her and destroyed the giant dragon claw. This power. Zither Crown, you made a move. Dragon, you are at Jiu Xiao Huan Pei Manor. Not only did you not follow the rules, you even tried to hurt my disciple. That's too much. Zither Crown walked over slowly and said, I told you, this Jiu Shao Huan Pei is mine. Behind him, a silhouette appeared, and a powerful celestial aura swept across the area. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.